Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the You've Graduated What's Next webinar. I'm Charlie Sunderland. I'm Director of Services at CXK. CXK is a charity that supports people of all ages to build their skills and confidence they need to improve their life chances. We're also a regional provider for the National Careers Service, offering free careers advice and guidance to anyone aged 13 and over living in England. We're really delighted to be here today hosting this webinar in partnership with AGCAS for the 5th year running. We've got a fantastic agenda lined up with expert speakers who will be sharing insights and advice to help graduates take their next steps. If you'd like a reminder of today's agenda at any point, you can find it in the link into the chat. I'm really now pleased and delighted to hand over to Barry Gray, President of AGCAS, who will be chairing today's event. Barry, over to you.
Thank you, Charlie. Delighted to have all of you with us today, and I'm really hoping you'll find this useful and insightful as you take your next steps as graduates. So we'll get straight on with the first session, which is Smart Strategies for Graduate Job Success. And I'd like to introduce from the National Career Service, Stephen Watering and Katie Garcia Valino.
Well, I'd like to start just by saying firstly, congratulations to those in the audience that have now successfully completed your degree. And to those that haven't completed their degree, I would also like to say a lot of information will be helpful for you from this presentation today.
I'm hoping that this is working, but as Katie did say, congratulations to all of those that you've obviously graduated. I guess you could liken it, Katie, to them winning gold medal like Simone did in her field, if you see what I mean. But I guess at the end of the day, the competition is ever growing, and that's something to bear in mind moving forward. But I don't know, is the slides moving across or not?
They will, so they're being controlled by Julia. And yes,
Brilliant,
so it is a
you.
massive achievement, isn't it? Getting your degree is huge in the same way that Simone Biles got her gold. But as the caption asks, is that it, or is there more to do?
Well, I guess as we were talking about when we were writing this, we're often told when we're in education, basically, get a degree and then a good job kind of follows. So once you've got the degree, you feel like, yeah, I'm sorted. But we all do know that Simone, after getting her gold medal, wouldn't have rested on her laurels. She'd be thinking, well, I want to achieve more and do more, so she'll be putting in further training. And it's the same as a graduate. You've got your gold medal, so to speak, as a graduate, but it's then moving things forward in a positive way by carrying on that continual professional development.
Yeah, and of course, so on top of that, you need to remain relevant. So for example, in a computer science degree or in a general STEM degree, you have new breakthroughs, you have new advances, you have new technology, and that means that it can become outdated within a few years of graduating. So what you need to do is try and stay competitive, stay relevant. And then with the dawn of AI and robots as well, we've got the new ones coming from Tesla, you need to remain competitive, not just with other people, but with technology itself.
Exactly, and following on from your comment about the AI, I saw in the news just the other day that they were asking the question, is AI going to replace call centre staff? So we know it is progressing, and that's something to bear in mind when it comes to you and your future progress with your career. Is it going to be the competition, or is it going to complement what you're actually trying to achieve? I kind of think about it in relation to our actual job role, where we help people write a CV. You could ask AI to check your CV and rewrite it for you, but is that going to do you a justice or not? And I think that kind of nicely leads on to the next slide.
And I love that analogy that you've come up with regarding AI as well, because it's a bit like a chainsaw. You can either use it badly and injure yourself, or you can use it well and it will actually help you get the job.
Exactly, and you know, at the end of the day, you want it to work for you. So I always think, say you take the profile, you should tailor that to the actual job role that you're going for. But you could use the AI to quickly scan your profile in comparison to the job role. Is it working? Is it not? If it's not, where's the shortfall, so to speak? And then once you've found that out, then use that to help you start editing it yourself. But I think the key thing is here, edit yourself, because people can spot an AI written CV potentially a mile off. I know one recruiter said he can. So you want to get your character across in this.
Yeah, and making those edits is really important as well. You need to edit the job that you're going for, because if you're not, you're going to run foul of the ATS scanner. So the ATS scanner stands for Applicant Tracking System. It's a way for recruiters to make it quicker for them to get through the thousands of CVs they get for every job role. And the issue there is that if you have any fancy stylings, so if you use one of those pre-formatted templates that you get online or you get on Word, the ATS scanner isn't going to be able to read the information. Now, the biggest problem here is that you need a 90 to 95% match to the job description, or else your CV goes straight in the bin. It's not even seen by humans. So those pesky robots are coming up in every area of our lives. So we always recommend a plain, simple, black and white, top to bottom, no column CV. Don't have any borders, don't have any background blocking with different colours, don't have any different coloured writing. Black and white, top down, ideally 1 page, at most 2 pages, and just 1 column is the best way to do it. Otherwise, it's going to go straight in the bin. And this is why you have so much ghosting in recruitment, because it's not being able to be read by the ATS scanner. Think of it as when you did your GCSE exams, you had to write in black pen only. The scanner can't read anything outside that.
And that's a really good point. And following on from that, another key point is that AI can't give you the answer to the point number 2 or 3, sorry, which is listing duties instead of individual achievements. It can probably fill out the duties of a particular job role for you, but what were your actual individual achievements in the job? So did you get given extra responsibilities for mentoring, training new staff? AI wouldn't know that, you would. So you need to sit back and think about, what have I achieved in the workplace? But if you're stuck, then obviously you and I, Katie, are here to potentially help with that, as is your careers advisor at the university that you're with. But that is really important, adding those achievements in, because it's the second most complained thing about, from an employer's point of view, is the lack of achievements. And I think that nicely links in with the next slide, which was a young man that I came across who wanted to work at a barista, and he was like candidate 1. So he had some customer service experience, but he didn't have a barista qualification. He didn't have any relevant hobbies. And we got talking about maybe doing a free course on barista work with Alison.com. So it gives you a bit of background into it and shows a bit of willing. And he basically said, is it worth me doing? And I said, well, let's look at this as a scenario. You're candidate 1, so you have got some customer service experience, but you've not got a qualification in it, and you've not got any relevant hobbies in it. And his candidate number 2, they've again got a relevant experience, but they've gone and done the course with Alison.com, just as a quick example. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll get that. And I said, but you could then take that even further and highlight in your hobbies, interests, and what you like about coffee. And I gave myself as an example, because I do like coffee myself. And I was thinking, caffeine doesn't necessarily suit me. I found my hands shaking now after having a bit too much, shall we say. So I thought I'll go decaf. But then when I found out decaf coffee is processed using chemicals, it kind of put me off. But then I did a bit more research, and I found out actually it can be processed using water. And I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. But what I did was some research, and I think if you've got a passion or an interest, you will automatically do that kind of research, and you could add that in as your hobby. So then you've got lots of different talking points, and it's not all just about what you've done in education or what you've done in work. It's also about what you do in your own time to prove that passion.
And so now that you've seen how to prove your passion, we move on to the next part, which is what options are actually open to me. So you've got your degree, or you're on your degree, or you're pre-degree, or you're not going to do a degree. You have a variety of different options of what you can do next. So you can go for your master's and then into a PhD if you want to become an expert within your field. There are lots of different options there. Speak to universities or have a look at other universities. There could be some that specialize in areas that are more interesting to you than the one that you're currently at. Have a look, see what suits really. You've got graduate schemes, so a lot of the people that you'll be seeing today, they have graduate schemes, so stick around and make sure you listen intensely to what they have to say. But you can use AI to help you find graduate schemes as well. There's all sorts that it can do to help support you with your job search. You have apprenticeships, so you can do apprenticeships at a higher level. You've got UCAS, you've got the government apprenticeship website. They can go all the way up to doctorate level, and the great thing about that is that you're earning an income whilst you're getting to learn, and who doesn't love that? You also have volunteering. So say, for example, you you've been in education and you've specialised in the area that you want to go into, but you don't have the experience. We all see in the news about how a lot of employers want the experience as well as the qualifications. Well, volunteering is a wonderful way to get that experience that can then match up with your qualifications. And then internships. A lot of companies like to train from within. So you've got your degree and you're like, I would like to specialise in this with a master's, but if I do this internship, they will then put me onto my master's after a couple of years. So that could be a really good point. I know that's very good in the law industry. And then also you get to stay on in that role as well. And it's really important to realize there's no one path for everyone. We all have different likes, different needs. You don't have to do one above the other. There is no kind of kudos with one above the others. Do what is best for you. And then make sure you make connections, which leads us on to our next point. Who you know is going to be really important for you going forward. We've got a great little guide down there, How to Network for Beginners, so make sure you sign up so we can send this out to you. You can access that. You have your industry governing bodies, so things like the CIPD, you've got the BPS for psychology, you have them for nearly every sector. Go on their websites. They have got tons to offer. They can give you mentors. So they have graduate mentorship, how to get into those roles, people supporting you every step of the way. You're paying for the membership, so they want to make sure they make use of your money. You have the opportunity to gain experience through these. So if you're doing psychology and you're like, I didn't get as much experience on my degree as I would have liked, you can volunteer or you can have placements through the BPS. You can then help you gain that experience. That's really valuable. You've also got Eventbrite. So this one's off your own back. You can see any kind of talks or sessions that you would be interested in going to. A lot of them are in London. They do have some locally. So wherever you are, just have a look and see what's around. And they have talks from specialists. If you go to those, 100% make sure you talk to the people, if you can, at the end of the session. Hang around, talk to everyone in there. You'll be surprised who you could meet. I remember I went to one on Egyptology and I met Zahi Hawass, who's like the Egyptian's antiquities minister in Egypt, and I was just like, was not expecting that. And I got to talk to him and he gave me some free books on hieroglyphs and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So hang around and talk to people. I know it can be scary. If you're a socially awkward person, it's scary. I'm socially awkward, but just stay around, make those connections. University alumni groups. These are people that have a good interest in you doing well because, you know, your alumni brethren, they want you to follow in their footsteps. So if you kind of go to those events and friend them up, you might then be able to follow them into their sector that they're working in. You've got expo events. So if you go to Comic-Con or you go to the big events up at the Excel Centre, they always have a section on how to get into that industry. I know the Formula One do. The Comic-Con have a huge section on like art, writing and game design. So just go to those, chat to people, get to know them. I'm always there chatting to them, so you'll probably run into me. And then the hidden job market. So that is a case of ask everyone in your life if they're looking for people in that sector. Ask your friends, ask your friends' friends, just put that kind of positivity out there and it will come back to you. People like the devil you know, not the devil you don't. So if you are able to make those connections through people that you know, you're more likely to get ahead of the game. And then you also have places like LinkedIn. So LinkedIn can be helpful. You build your connections, you can get your references on there as well. And there are lots of job opportunities on there. But I have heard, just to ask Steve, for example, I've heard about people getting scammed or ghosted on sites like LinkedIn. So what's your advice and experience regarding this?
Yeah, it's an interesting one that you bring up there, Katie. And what I would say here is there has been articles, and there was one on the BBC recently about being ghosted and scammed. And a couple of bits of advice that were given were don't give out too much information from the get-go. So say an employee is advertised, and it doesn't have to just be on LinkedIn, it can be on things like Indeed, CV Library and so on and so forth. There will be scammers unfortunately out there, but you can usually tell them because they ask for a lot of personal information up front that you would normally expect to be asked if you get offered the job. So you wouldn't normally be asked about ID, like photo ID or national insurance number and all these other bits and bobs until you actually get the job. So if they're asking for that sort of stuff too soon, then potentially it's a scammer. So be aware of that. But when it comes to the ghosting side of things, this is where somebody thinks they're having a good conversation with an employer and things seem to be going well, and then all of a sudden the employer goes quiet and you think, well, what's that all about? The top tip there is If you ask to do a presentation, that's fine, especially if it's just a couple of minute presentation, because you kind of think that makes sense as part of the recruitment process. They might want to see your presentation skills, for example. But if they're asking you to do what looks like work and you're spending hours doing it and then you hand it in, so to speak, they may be trying to tap in on your abilities and your intellectual understanding of a particular topic and things like that. And once they got that information, everything goes cold. So again, on that score, look out for, are they asking you to do work? And is it actually relevant part of the job, the recruitment process, or is it maybe leading to being ghosted? But that's just on the negative side. On the positive side, and I'm going to use LinkedIn as the example, there was a lady who in one of my group sessions said she loved LinkedIn, and I said, oh, care to share? And she told me, well, when I was made redundant, she said, I went on LinkedIn, said I was looking for work, and within a matter of days, an employer contacted her and said, well, we're looking for an administrator. We think you would suit. Would you like to apply? So she applied, promptly got the job. Years later, she got made redundant again, and she went back on LinkedIn again. And this time, an estate agent contacted her and said, would you like a career change? Because looking at your LinkedIn profile, etc., we think you would be a really good match. So for her, she had a really positive experience. And I think that this is the thing, it's making use of LinkedIn and sites like that in the right sort of way. Just being aware of there can be scammers and people who will ghost, but being aware of how you can potentially avoid that. I'll pass you on to the next slide, which I think Katie's going to talk about.
The only other bit of advice we could say with LinkedIn is get ChatGPT to have a little look at your profile, see what recommendations it would suggest. Again, it's all about getting it to help you, not to do it for you. So ask for suggestions and then make them yourself. Don't get it to rewrite it for you. And then if we go to the next slide. So we've covered an absolute ton of topics today, but with the National Careers Service, we're here to help. As members of the audience, do sign up at the end and we will help you. Steve and I will be your personal advisors, but do check out the National Careers Service website. It is a huge font of knowledge. I don't know about you, Steve, but I use it pretty much every day when I'm supporting our clients. The careers advice section, so you can access them all on the banner at the top. The careers advice section is invaluable. It has got support with choosing your career, with getting your career, and then once you're in your career, how do you progress? It's got cover letter guides, it's got guides to different interview types, commonly asked interview questions so you can practice your answers, how to answer the questions as well. You've got find a course so you can explore local opportunities. It also allows you to access online opportunities from away from your local area. So if they've got virtual classrooms, you can choose that option and you can access courses that aren't necessarily available in your area. You've got the skills assessment. I always like to think of this as the Harry Potter sorting hat. I don't know about you, Steve, but you have to answer, I think it's about 50 questions. Always keep in mind that these are scenarios for work, not in your personal life, and it will kind of direct you into the sector that it thinks would suit you based on your personality. And then you've got the Explore Career section. It's got over 750 job profiles, and it allows you to see all the different aspects of that role. And Steve is going to show you a job profile on the next slide.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Katie. So on the next slide, we have this little example here of business analyst, and as Katie highlighted, it's about 750 different career options on the database, but we thought we'd show you one of the profiles just to give you an idea of how it's all laid out. It's pretty straightforward. Job title at the top, wages underneath that, and then underneath that there's some really important headings. So how to become, I think this is really useful because sometimes you think you know the route into a particular career, but maybe you didn't realise there's other routes into that same career path. So I always find it quite useful because one route might really suit somebody, but it's not for everybody, if you see what I mean. So if you know there's other routes and avenues to access it, then that's great. And that's hidden under this little bit, how to become. But also under here, this is where you would find those industry bodies that Katie was talking about a little bit earlier. So if there's an industry body linked in with this particular career, it will highlight it in this section. Now, what it takes is a list of skills, qualities that you're kind of likely to need for the job role. So that's important, and it can be a useful point of reference for when you're editing your CV. And then underneath that, what you'll do, I think, is a really good one, because it kind of highlights what you actually will be doing as part of the job role. So if it's a new career to you, then obviously you definitely want to start with that and read that. But equally, if you're thinking, well, how do I edit my CV to actually suit a job role that I'm wanting to go for, you could look at the what you'll do and think, have I done any of these things in another job role? So this is where the transferable skills come in, but then you could use that as that point of reference and think, right, I'm going to make sure I mention these particular activities because I know the employer is going to be interested in them, and drop them into your responsibilities for your different job roles that you've got. So there's loads of really good information here, and as you can see, there's a section on the right called related careers. So if it's not quite what you were wanting, then obviously you've got something else you can explore. And as Katie highlighted, we have got that skills assessment. I always say with that, it is kind of rough and ready, so to speak, so it's not going to be bulletproof, so to say. But one of my key things is answer the questions, can I do this activity? But more importantly, do I want to do it as part of my job? And that's something Katie did highlight. Make sure you link it in with you and the world of work, and then you're more likely to get a useful list of career suggestions. But Katie also did mention that we're here to help. So if we move on to the next slide, which is our customer charter, I'll let you have a little read through that. But just as a heads up, in the chat, we'll be dropping in a little link so you can register with us. Once you've registered, obviously myself and Katie will be your named careers advisor from a national careers perspective for the next 12 months. So if you need any further support, you can email us directly and get that support. But don't forget, obviously, you have got your university careers advisor that you can tap in as well. But I always think it's quite nice to have as many support agencies helping you out as possible. But like I said, I'm not going to go through that whole customer chart. It will be emailed out to you, and you can clearly see what's available there. But then if we move on to the very last slide, it's just a little reminder of how you can contact us. So we have a web chat. Sorry, Katie, you were going to say?
I was saying we have our web chat and our email support, which is available. We have the National Career Service website, and then we have our free phone number, which is free to access. In fact, the entire service is free to access the whole way through. So at no point will you be asked for money. And as Steve said, we will be your careers advisors as well. And there's just one final thought, Steve.
Have you researched your coffee beans? Sorry, we couldn't resist, but like I said earlier, it is important to try and get your passion across when it comes to your career, because I was liking it, just as a very quick one, if you had somebody turning up to the interview and they're a bit flat, then the employer is going to be a bit disappointed. But if you're really enthusiastic, it's going to stand out. As a very, very quick example, one young man I did a mock interview with was very flat when he was talking about motor mechanics. So I asked him, what do you like doing in your spare time? He mentioned football, and I liked playing football when I was younger. So we had this animated conversation about football for 3 or 4 minutes. And then it went back down to flat again with him when we went back to the motor mechanics interview questions. So my first bit of feedback to him was, you want to be a football player, not a motor mechanic. And his response was, how do you work that out? And I said, it's very clear. You're up here when you were talking about the football, and you were down here when you were talking about motor mechanics. So if you really want to get the job, you need to be as enthusiastic about getting that job and talking about that job as you would be talking about your hobbies and interests.
Yeah, I think that's very, very good point. And there's just a couple of questions that we can try and answer now. There will be a Q&A section later. So the first one is from Leah, and she says, is that 90 to 95% match requirement for the ATS scanner true for all organisations, regardless of the specific ATS software that they use?
Oh, well, do you know the answer to that one, Katie?
I do, yeah. So I think the match requirement generally sits around 90% as a rule of thumb. It does depend entirely on how competitive the role is. So a lot of graduate roles are massively competitive. So they're probably going to have a higher, they're probably going to be more in the 95% range. If it's a less competitive role, it's going to be a bit lower, so potentially down to 85%. But generally the 95% match requirement is the kind of standard for what they're expecting from people. I do believe when the ATS scanner comes, that is the kind of default for it anyway.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like you were saying, it probably would vary from one employer to another as to what they would want anyway. So always bear that in mind. We often do say to people, if you tick 60+% of the boxes, then potentially it's worth applying, but only if they're not got an essential and desirable list and they've just got a list, if that makes sense. So if it's a list, then it's kind of almost a bit of a wish list. So if you feel you tick enough boxes, then go for it and see where it takes you, basically. And there's been lots of people who've got into work with not 100% behind them, and because the employer loves their enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I always say, if you don't try, you don't get. So there's no harm in trying. If you feel that you don't have that 90% or 85% match, just try. The worst that can happen is they say no. And that's not the end of the world. So you just try again another day.
And I'll give it as a quick example. One lady who I helped out wanted to go into events management, and she didn't apply for the role because she didn't feel she ticked enough boxes. But I said to her, well, how many of the boxes did you tick? And she said, oh, easily 80% of them. And I said to her, well, you should have applied. And she was like, really? And I said, well, yeah, definitely. And she said, well, the deadline date's today. So I said, right, let's sort out your CV, which we did. She sent it off, and then guess what? She got called up for an interview. So she was the one who was counting herself out of the job, not the employer. So bear that in mind. Even if you don't tick all the boxes, it can be worth applying. But have half in mind that it might not happen, if you see what I mean. So you're not too disappointed. But if you don't try, like you were saying, Katie, you don't get.
Yeah, exactly. And actually with that as well, there is a difference in generations with that. So I saw a study this year that said that the younger you are, unless you match 100% of the essential and preferred qualities, you're less likely to apply. And so that means that a lot of the jobs are being missed out on by younger people because they're not applying for it because they think they need to have everything. So don't be afraid to try. That's not going to make you look bad. It's just the ATS scanner will say no if it really feels that you don't match. So just give it a shot. That's what we always say. Sorry. And I think we've got time for one final one. So this is about apprenticeship, Steve. Are some training providers reluctant to take on graduates? Can they access level 3, for example, if they're in new training?
If it's new training, they usually can, can't they? So it's going in a different direction, and you need to start somewhere. Level 2 is going to be probably too low, so you would be going in at that level 3 and working your way up. So yeah.
And training providers aren't reluctant to take on graduates. Again, when you've got the high level apprenticeships, they encourage that. Obviously, you need to be a graduate if you're going for like a a master's level or a doctorate level. So I always recommend have a look at UCAS. They have tons on there. But just bear in mind the level that you're at within your field, you have to go one step higher. If it's a new field of training, then go for it, and they're not reluctant to take them on. And that's all we've got time for regarding questions, but that's from Jenny, so thank you for your question, Jenny. I will send a typed response as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Katie and Stephen. Really insightful and interesting session. And just to echo the final point they made in their slide, do reach out. There's a wealth of knowledge in the National Careers Service, and they can support you with loads of things throughout your journey as a recent graduate. So next we've got Louise Taylor, the Talent and Acquisition Marketing Specialist from Enterprise Mobility, who's going to talk about their flagship and fantastic graduate program, Enterprise. I'll just introduce Louise by saying that she's been exactly where you are now and knows that route of being a graduate, applying to come into Enterprise. But I won't spoil her introduction, but just to say thank you to Louise, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Barry, and thank you everyone for having me on today. It's great to be here. As Barry said, I was once a graduate applying for a graduate scheme at Enterprise Mobility, so hopefully our presentation today can help shed a bit of light on who we are and what we do at Enterprise Mobility and some of the careers that we do have available. So I'm just going to share my screen and get my presentation up for everybody. Everyone just gives me a second. My laptop's going very slow today, which is just perfect because, as always, it is the day that we need it. So Here we go. Right, okay, so that should be coming on now. So as Barry said, my name is Louise Taylor. I head up talent acquisition marketing for the northeast of England for Enterprise Mobility. You may know us as Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We are the world's largest transport provider, so we do specialise in car rental, but we do a lot more things. It's a lot more exciting than that, I can assure you, and hopefully I'll shed a bit of light on what that is today. So I started on Enterprise's graduate scheme back in August 2019, fresh out of university. I actually graduated with a psychology degree, so no relevance to the business field whatsoever. I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I didn't know where my skills lied. So I thought a graduate scheme was perfect because it gave me a bit of an insight into everything really. And then I could decide where to go from there. So joined in August 2019. I then managed to work my way up and reopened our Bishop Auckland branch after COVID, and then eventually sidestepped up to head this department where I am now. So my role now is everything talent acquisition marketing. So a lot of my work predominantly deals with 17 university relationships across the northeast of England, from Newcastle down to sort of Sheffield, Lincoln way. And really, my job is to just educate students on who we are and what we do and why you should come and work for us. So hopefully I do a good job of that today, and lots of you on the call are interested. So just to sort of shed a bit of light on who we are. So as I've said, you may know us as Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We've just recently had a facelift and we're now known as Enterprise Mobility, but we are the exact same brand. So in FY24, we turned over around about $38 billion in global revenue. And we are an international company, so we have over 90,000 global team members across 90 countries and territories. And we have the world's largest fleet of 2.4 million vehicles. That was back in 2024. I know we have a lot more than that now, with over 300 makes and models. So that's really what sets us apart from our competitors, is the fact that we do have a very wide vehicle base that we can offer our customers. That's everything from your 3-door Toyota Aigos, which was my first car when I first started driving, all the way up to your Luton vans with tail lifts, premium vehicles, SUVs, flatbed lorries, anything at all we do at Enterprise Mobility. And this graphic here just showcases some of our brands across the globe. So the ones that you may recognise is that Enterprise National or Alamo. That is the one that you will have seen in and around city or town centres near where you live, or potentially airports or train station locations. National and Alamo are the exact same thing as Enterprise Rent-A-Car. It's just called something different in different countries, just to confuse everybody. But at Enterprise, National and Alamo, the main business that we do have is private rentals. So people renting vehicles because they're moving house, or maybe they're going on holiday. We have a lot of contracts with insurance companies. So if you are unfortunate enough to have an accident, Enterprise will likely be the one that provides you with your hire vehicle. And we also have a lot of contracts with corporate accounts across the UK and globally as well. So if an employer needs to get their employee a vehicle so they can go to a meeting or an event, they would likely do that through us as well. A couple of other ones I want to pick out. We've got Enterprise Flexi Rents. That is our longer leasing, so 3 to 5 year business leases. And that's specialised vehicles, so emergency vehicles, supermarket HGVs, and we do a lot of groundwork vehicles for roadworks and things like that. And then finally, if anyone is interested in cars, we do have Enterprise Exotics, which is based in London and Manchester. And that is your Lamborghinis, Bugattis, Porsches, you know, your VIP nice vehicles for VIP clientele, essentially. So we really do have a brand of Enterprise Mobility that suits every kind of demographic and customer base. I'm not going to spend too much longer talking about who we are, because hopefully that's helped set the scene on who we are if you don't know who we are already. But I would urge you to go away and do your own research on some of these other brands on the screen, because it is phenomenal just how global we are and the kind of business lines that we do offer. So I definitely recommend going and having a little look at that. But what I'm here to talk about today is our careers. So Enterprise has an extremely unique business model in that we only promote from within. So we are the only company in the UK to solely promote from within. So what that means is that every single person in our company, or 98% of them, start as either a 1-year placement student or as a graduate management trainee like myself. And then those people work their way up the career ladder into different fields and corporate divisions. We do not hire externally for internal positions at all. The only positions that we do hire externally for are things that are very specific, like legal or copywriting, where you need specific experience. But for 98% of our roles, everyone starts as a placement or a grad trainee student. So actually, it creates a fantastic culture at Enterprise, because no matter who you meet, no matter what their seniority level is, they will have started at the exact same level as you. So it's a really fantastic business model. And what that means is that there's a lot more opportunity for promotion and growth. So because you're not having to compete externally for people for internal positions, it means that not only is there more chance of you getting a job if you apply for it internally with Enterprise, but also there's more opportunities available. So last year, 22,000 of our team members were promoted or took on new challenges. 22,000, that's an incredible number. Some companies will have a couple of promotions a year, but 22,000 of our staff members were promoted last year alone. So what's the role that I'm specifically talking about today? It is the Management Training Programme. So this is the role, the full graduate scheme when you finish your studies. So as I said, this is a full-time permanent position. Everyone starts in the graduate scheme and works their way up. So you are guaranteed a role with us after that graduate scheme finishes. If you've done research into other graduate schemes, you might see that they are not guaranteeing you a full-time job at the end of it, or maybe you have to re-interview for a permanent position. We are not like that at all at Enterprise Mobility. You are guaranteed a permanent role with us from the start when that graduate scheme finishes. Again, our graduate scheme isn't a set 1, 2 or 3 year programme. It's based on your development. So it's roughly around 10 months to a year to complete our graduate scheme. So you're looking at around about a year for your first promotion. And we've got a nice little graphic in a moment which showcases that. But why should you be a management trainee? So as I've said already, it's a fast track to management. It is a permanent full-time position from the start, guaranteeing you a role within the management sector when you do complete the graduate scheme. Our graduate scheme is fantastic. It's really broad, and we're going to look in a moment at some of the things that you get involved with whilst on the graduate scheme with us. But the whole idea of our scheme is teaching you how to run our rental branches. So it is a management scheme from the get-go. We're teaching you how to manage people, stakeholders, our fleet. You have a lot of responsibility from day one, which is really fantastic for your development. So it is a real fast track to management. Get rewarded is the second one. Obviously, everyone wants to know what kind of rewards you do get at Enterprise. We have a fantastic starting salary of £30,000 plus bonuses. So there are bonuses that are performance-based for things like your sales performance, customer service performance, then some additional add-ons. That is uncapped and it is not commission-based at all. So although there is a small sales element to the role, it is not commission-based. You are guaranteed to get your base salary of £30,000, and any additional money that you get will just be in the form of a bonus. You're not having to fight to get that commission every single month. We do have a lot of excellent benefits as well. For example, you get a full paid day off a year called My Purpose, My Time, which is for you to go and do something within your local communities in the form of volunteering. So I'm using mine this year to help support some food banks in my local area. People have used it to do sponsored runs, charity events, but that is a full paid day off a year supported by the company for you to do something and giving back to your community. We also have something called My Celebration, My Time, which is another full paid day off a year for you to support some sort of celebration or something that's important to you that you wouldn't normally get off. So a lot of our staff use that for religious holidays, for example, at the end of Ramadan or Diwali or anything like that, that maybe you wouldn't naturally get off work. But some people as well use it just to celebrate their birthday or a family event or something that's important to them. And we also have a fantastic benefits package as well, which I'm not going to run through today because there's a lot of information about that online and that would take up a lot of our time. But just know that we do have some fantastic benefits and perks available as well, which you can find out about online. We have award-winning training and development at Enterprise. So we actually have a dedicated talent development team that is there purely just to help the development of our graduate trainees. So you're not just thrown in head first right into the branches without any training. You will have sort of a training period that you go into. There are certain stages of the graduate scheme as well, which help sort of facilitate your development, learning about the core areas of the business. But we also give you some really fantastic supplementary training sessions as well. things like public speaking and presentation skills, the importance of networking, personal branding, relationship building, that kind of thing. So we do have award-winning training and development on our graduate scheme here at Enterprise Mobility. Our doors are always open, and we really encourage all of our team members to be the very best that they can be and ensure that every employee feels really valued and supported and empowered to bring their best selves to work. So we are extremely diverse in our employees that we do have. We believe that that makes us a fantastic business, is how diverse our demographic is that work at Enterprise Mobility. And we really celebrate that through special events for holidays and celebration events throughout the year, and also different committees that you can be part of as well that really help celebrate whatever your culture is. And finally, obviously, the people that make Enterprise are the ones that you will work alongside. As I've said, everyone that you'll be working alongside on the graduate scheme will have already done that graduate scheme, whether that be your area manager, your branch manager, your assistant branch manager, the head of marketing, the head of sales. It doesn't matter. They will have started at the exact same point as you. So you're working alongside fantastic people, and you all have that one thing in common as well, which is fantastic. So who will you work with as a management trainee? You'll obviously have your area manager. So let's say you apply for a branch in Leeds. There will be an area manager that manages all those branches in Leeds. You'll also be working every day in branch with your branch and assistant manager, and they're there to support you through that graduate programme as well, alongside management trainees like yourself, and also potentially some placement students too. So when you go into your branch, you will not be the newest person there by years and years. You'll likely be starting with someone around the same time, or if not, there'll be someone in the branch that has started just a couple of months, if not a couple of weeks before you as well. And obviously be working alongside our fantastic customers and business partners as well. So you'll obviously have the customers that are coming into the branch to rent vehicles from us, but we also have some great business partners in the form of our local body shops, dealerships, and our corporate accounts as well. And this is that little graphic that I spoke about in terms of what that career progression looks like. So as you can see, everyone starts at the bottom, either as a management intern, which is only relevant for those doing a one-year placement, but for everyone on the call here, you'll be looking at starting as a management trainee, so on our full-time graduate programme. Once you have completed that graduate scheme, you get an automatic promotion to management assistant, which comes with a nice little pay rise. But what it also opens you up is the opportunity to apply for internal promotions. So a lot of people, as you can see, continue up that graphic to assistant manager, branch manager, area manager, and so on, which is what I did for several years working in Bishop Auckland. Or if you find through the graduate scheme that you have a real passion for a corporate area of our business, whether that might be HR, accounts and finance, marketing, like myself, it might be that you're really interested in sales or service. We have hundreds of different corporate divisions that you can sidestep out into and continue your career progression that way. So that graphic there just shows that nicely, what that sort of linear, but also that sidestep career path looks like as well. And the proof really is in the pudding with our awards that we've won. So we were a top student employer for 2 years running from higher in, which meant we had the best placement programme in the UK. And last year we were also the winner of the Graduate Employer of the Year award through Target Jobs, which meant that in the UK we had the best graduate scheme out of every single employer that offers one. And this year we were actually runner-up for that as well. So it just goes to show that we put a lot into our graduate scheme, we put a lot into our employees, and that really is shown in some of the awards that we have been winning across the last few years. So if you are interested, what is the application process like? So we have a very streamlined application process at Enterprise Mobility. We don't even take CVs because we think there's a bias behind them. We would prefer to chat with you over the phone and get to know you as opposed to reading about you on a piece of paper. So the applications start with an online application. And we do have a link which I believe is being distributed. If not, I will pop it in the chat as well at the end of this presentation, which you can follow, so I can send you some information about our application forms. You will then get a phone call from a recruiter just to chat you through your application. And if you are eligible, you'll be invited to a virtual interview. So that is a 30 to 45-minute Microsoft Teams interview, competency-based questions just as normal. And the final stage is a branch visit. So that is where you'll physically go to a branch in the location that you have applied for a couple of hours to get a feel for the role, meet the team, and just see what you'd be doing day to day. And that is it. We don't do any assessment centres, we don't do any psychometric testing, none of that. It is literally just that really simple 3-step process. So finally, what kind of skills will you get at Enterprise Mobility? So as I mentioned, it is a really broad programme, and that is why I wanted to join, because I had absolutely no clue what it was that I wanted to do. So we help you with your sales and your marketing. Don't be put off by the word sales. We do not do any cold calling. We are not a customer call centre. It's nothing like that. It is an optional service that we provide to our customers when they walk into our branch to rent a vehicle from us. And we help it and give you all the training that you need through that. We'll help you to develop skills in customer service, operations and logistics as well. You'll be helping to run the fleet within your branch. We do a lot of training on financial control and profitability. So if you're interested in going down the accounts and finance route, that is something that we do a lot of training on. And finally, leadership and development. Obviously, this is a graduate management trainee programme. So management is really what we're hoping for you to get out of it at the end of this. So as I mentioned, you do have that fantastic training as part of your graduate scheme, but we'll also help you to develop your leadership skills throughout the course of the programme as well. So that is everything from myself. I can see that there are a few questions coming in. I'm not sure if the organisers want me to answer any, live like the other speaker did, or potentially if you want me to just go and add those in the chat, please let me know. But I have got a little graphic on the screen there. If anyone is interested, they can give that QR code a scan and pop their information in. But I believe we do also have some links circulating around as well for you to click and register as well.
Louise, you've got a couple of minutes, so if you want to pick out any personal ones you want to answer live now, then please feel free to.
Yeah, of course. So there's a great one here about our applications currently open, and if so, can you provide the link? I will pop the link in the chat box as well. I do think that has been circulated around already. If not, oh yeah, I can just see that Julia's popped that form in. So if anyone does want to have a little look and fill that form out, they absolutely can. Our graduate scheme is really unique in that we recruit all year round across all locations. So we never have an end date to our recruitment process for the graduate programme. We do recruit all year round, so you're not going to miss an end date at all. So please do just apply whenever you are ready to. Let me have a little look at any of the other ones. I'm not sure. I think that was the main one there, Barry, was just about applications currently open. I'm not sure if I'm missing any, but I think that might be the main one.
Brilliant. Thank you, Louise. If people want to add questions in, Louise will hang about in the background to answer your questions over the next few minutes. So if you're thinking, oh, I've got a question all of a sudden, don't worry that she's going to disappear. Pop it into the question box. Thank you, Louise, very much for your time and to explaining Enterprise. As we introduce the next session, I did just want to make the point that sometimes you might see on your socials, or if you look at the news, information about the graduate job market being not what it was, and you might be worried or concerned about that. The point is to say that all of the people talking to you today are because they've got vacancies and opportunities. So sometimes things appear in the press, but the story is maybe a little bit different. So we'll move on to our next speaker. So I'd like to introduce Gina Derry from Teach First. Really interested to hear what Gina's got to say. Some of you might be thinking, oh, it's quite a tough one, Teach First. I have to say from personal experience, I don't know of any organisation that does more to help applicants succeed. So listen to this, find out a bit more about the programme, but also how if you think Teach First is the right fit for you, they will help you with your application and support you through the process. So over to you, Gina.
Thank you, Barry. That was a lovely introduction, and we definitely will talk a bit about our support and stuff with our training program. And I do have to agree, might be a tiny bit biased because I work for the company, but I do have to agree we do help and support all our applicants and candidates. So I'll talk to you about that. So yes, welcome to my talk today. I'm presenting about Teach First, our training programme, who we are and kind of what our offering is, and to see if it's something that you might be interested in. So as Barry said, my name is Gina. My role at Teach First is a programme talent officer. And it sounds a bit fancy. And in a nutshell, what it is I work in recruitment. So I help recruit for our training program. My specialist kind of area is recent graduates. So that is the first and second year kind of graduates. So people who have just graduated, but also been graduated for about a year. My regions that I work with is the Southeast, South Coast, South Central and Southwest. So they're quite lovely regions, as I am originally from the Southwest. That's kind of where my specialty is. But yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell what I do. But then also a tiny bit, but maybe my favourite part of the role, is I look after our trainees who receive an offer before they go into the programme. So there's a nice part of once you receive the offer, you have that support from us that we kind of help you before you start in the September. So enough about me, as I could talk for ages. No, I'm joking. We'll go on and talk about what our training program is. So kind of what we're going to do for this short time and with you today is introduce Teach First, talk about our opportunities, and then also our how to apply. So who are Teach First if you haven't come across us before? Sometimes at open days we do get mistaken for Tech First, which is quite lovely and also quite funny because the A just seems to disappear and people come up and start talking about all their tech stuff and I'm like, oh gosh, not very tech savvy. So we are Teach First and we are a charity that believes that education is the most powerful tool to help a child fulfill their potential. So what we are is a high impact charity founded in 2003, and we have over 20,000 inspirational graduates who have joined our training program in underserved communities and committed to help make our education system fairer so that young people achieve their potential no matter their socio-economical background. So with high responsibility and expert-led coaching, we've trained each of them to become a confident leader in months, not years, which is really exciting for people that think they want to get into the classroom as soon as possible if you're thinking about doing teaching. So the question is, why does our mission eradicate educational disadvantage matter? And why do we exist as a charity? So I'd like to share some statistics around kind of like the scale and the challenge of the problem. So more than 2 million children in the UK are being denied a their full educational potential by poverty and inequality. Pupils growing up in the poorest areas are twice as likely to leave school without strong English and maths GCSEs. And only 26% of children facing disadvantage go to university compared to the 85% from independent schools. Why does our mission matter? So this inequality lasts a lifetime with substantial differences in life chances. So that is leaving millions of disadvantaged throughout their lifetime. At Teach First, our role is to inspire and equip ambitious individuals to such as yourself, to lead the change in the classroom, from the classrooms, the schools, and also the communities. When talented people such as yourselves choose to enter the classroom determined to tackle education inequality, a change maker is born. Together as a movement of change makers, we are working to rewrite the future and to end educational disadvantage. So every child has the opportunity to support an opportunity and support to flourish. So our impact. This has been pulled from, as you can see on the bottom, and there is a link, but you can also search this kind of online. So our impact, we have made a, we've done a report that was 20 years of Teach First, and it's shown that GCSE results have improved with Teach First trainees, and university attendance has risen in Teach First schools, which is amazing. And also pupils have managed to reach Russell Group universities with Teach First trainees. So these are really amazing kind of statistics, and there's so much more to read in that report. If you are interested, I'd highly recommend having a look at it. So what we're going to now talk about is our training programme. We believe our training programme is purpose-driven, it's structured training and development for the individual like yourself. And there's also opportunities for fast track to leadership. Something to think about with our training programme, it is 2 years long. So what that means is you are going to be a Teach First trainee or in the Teach First programme for 2 years. So it's something to think about. We also are guided by the kind of term times, if that makes sense. So our programme will be starting in the September, full 2 years of school, and then you'll be finishing in the July 2 years later. So that's just something to think about in terms of kind of when you're forward planning and thinking about what you would like to do. Cool. So, oh, sorry, my bad. I was just making sure I was on the right slide. A place within, so what you're going to get is a place within change. So you will be one of our 20,000 plus ambassadors, which is amazing in terms of support network, reaching out to different people, learning from different people, loads of things like that that I think is really exciting to think about. You also have the structured development with training with real-time focus on leadership, and I'll kind of talk about that when we look at the 2 years. You will receive a fully funded training program, postgraduate certificate, which is a PGCE. And also after the first year, you receive qualified teacher status, which is what the QTS stands for. With that being said, in then the second year, you are a recognised teacher, no longer a trainee, so your salary does go up. So obviously, I know I've skipped a couple bullet points there, but you are a salaried, it's a salaried route into teaching. So from day one, you will be receiving a salary from the school that you're placed in. And in the first year, it is a trainee kind of salary, but then in the second year, once you're a qualified teacher and have your PGCE, it does go up considerably. There is an option to complete your master's degree at a reduced cost, and that's something you can speak to your individual recruiters and things about. And you also have support from us, the school, and the network. And I'm going to talk about the support in a bit more detail in a slide further along, but that's really key because I think it can sound scary that you're going to be in the classroom from day one, and that's something a lot of people, when I talk to them on the phone before they open an application, they're saying, I've not had any experience in teaching, and that's absolutely fine. You're bound to have those nerves and you're bound to feel a type of way, but what we actually really pride ourselves on is having that support and that network and that security that you will be able to thrive. You have that that passion, you have the drive that you've made that move applying for the Teach First programme, and then we are here to equip you with all the other things to make sure you are in that classroom ready and that you're able to hit the ground running and really become a change maker. So don't worry. I always say nerves and that sort of feeling is because you care. So nerves are always because you care. That's what you got to remember in my takeaway. So our programme has been ranked number 13 in the Times Top 100 for graduate employers 2025, which is amazing. I think we went up 2 spaces from last year, and it really does show the kind of the kind of programme that we've got and the offering and the support that we've got there. Obviously, we keep mentioning this, but accelerated leadership for like leadership development, it's definitely something that people come into our program and wanting to do. And I think because of the 2 years and having the second year to really focus on that is the reason that so many of our trainees end up being in different leadership roles. Our training has been rated outstanding by Ofsted, and I think it has been that for a few years now, so that's something that's really amazing. And just again to talk about kind of like that leadership and acceleration, you're 12 times more likely to become a senior leader early on in your career through the Teach First programme. So what is the training programme? What does it look like? What are you doing for 2 years? Does it feel long? Like, what is it? So what you do in the first 5 weeks is in the June and July. So let's do next year. So if you apply for this year to join, the June and July 2026 will be when you do your 5-week initial training. So that's where you'll be developing some core skills, behavioural management, lesson planning, pupil assessment. You kind of get, if you've never taught before, never stepped foot in front of a classroom, please don't worry, because that's where all the support and everything will be. And it's kind of a mix of online and in person. So the majority of it is online, but there's a few in-person days. You go to a school for about 5 days and kind of get in the mix of it, maybe get in front of the class, a classroom, shadow some teachers. So if you've never been in a school before, apart from when you're a pupil, you do have a little chance before then. You also go to the school that you're going to be placed in for the 2 years and work in to really get to know them before you start in the September. So don't worry, there is a little bit this side before you go in the September. So obviously September comes around, 2026 as it will be, and you start in the school. You do start on a skeleton timetable as such, so between 60 to 80% of your timetable, and the other is kind of for support work and catching up on your PGCE, maybe shadowing other teachers. So you're in the school for the full year. You will be completing your PGC alongside teaching. That's kind of for the skeleton timetable again. So if you need any extra support and stuff, that's where you kind of lean on your mentor and your development leads. And then after the year's complete, you have your PGCE, which is amazing. And you are then a qualified teacher. So as you mentioned, you obtain the QTS. And your fully funded, internationally recognised PGCE. So obviously it's amazing. You've got that, you can breathe. And then you can enjoy your summer, or just before you start your year 2, there is an option to do our summer projects. And what our summer projects are is exclusive to Teach First trainees, but also to some of our ambassadors. And it's a chance to kind of work with some of our corporate partners in consultancy, energy, finance, tech, anything like that. And you kind of can do some real life projects and have some real takeaways that you can take into the classroom, or just to add to your CV and kind of your progression and stuff. Then once your summer's done, you then start back in your same school that you were in already. So that's the pupils, the rules, the routine. You already know what you're doing. You're going to hit the ground running in your second year. That's when you kind of can work with your development leads to see where you kind of see yourself, what you want to do, if there's any progression roles already that you can kind of look out from. Once you complete your second year, you become an ambassador. So what that kind of means is you're part of a lifelong alumni network, and you can work together in loads of different ways. You can work with Teach First to give back to some of our different things that we do, but also you're just a part of a network that you can kind of lean on and support in any way. So that's really amazing. And after the 2 years, if you want to stay at your current school, that's okay. But if not, you can look at obviously other routes. As I've kind of mentioned, our 3-prong kind of support system. So you've got your mentor, your development lead, and your subject development lead. So the development lead one is kind of someone to help you with your PGCE. Your subject development lead is there for the subject support of what you'll be teaching in. Your mentor is in-house, so in the school, and normally they're like head of your department or something like that. So that's really lovely as well. That you kind of have that 3-prong approach throughout the whole 2 years, which is something to think about and something really amazing, that often kind of in other routes you might not get. So I think it is a really amazing opportunity that is exclusive, that we kind of do at Teach First, and something to sing about. I feel like it's really good. How to apply. So it's an online application form, and that's including some competency-based questions. Once you open a form, we have our application management team who will reach out to you and offer their help via email. They're there to help you prep for and kind of help with the application form, but also then if you're successful and move on to the next stage of the development centre, they're there to help you prep for the development centre. And the development centre is a make-up of interview, group task and teaching episode, which is really exciting. The reason it's called a development centre is because it's not an assessment centre as such, as throughout the day we offer feedback and we let you know on how you've performed and so far, and how you might need to improve or any improvements. And then we look at the evidence that you've interpreted and actioned this feedback throughout the kind of other sessions and different sessions. So really give you a chance to showcase your skills. After that, hopefully you receive an offer, and then that is the beginning of your pre-program journey. And that's when hopefully you'll meet someone like myself to get you through. Now, if teaching is something you're not sure about, or you're like, think maybe I just need to find a bit more about Teach First, we offer something called the Taster Programme, which you can find on our website as well. And these are for students, but also those who graduated in 2025. It's a full day of upskilling your CV, and it's just a chance to kind of figure out if Teach First is the right thing for you, learn a bit more about us, but also kind of get to know a bit more about if teaching's the right thing for you. Also, you can gain a fast track upon completion to our training program. So more you'll find out about that on our website. Cool. So what next? Open an application on our website if it's something that you are interested in. I would recommend acting quickly, as we work on a first come first serve basis, and for both our regions that we offer placements in, but also our subjects. So we just recommend opening an application as soon as possible and really going for it, because some of our popular regions, subjects and things do close early. For example, our primary and early years have closed for application already. If primary and early years was something you were interested in, please don't be put off by not reaching out to someone from Teach First, and we'll see if there's anything else we can help you with, any other subjects that you might be eligible for, and if you had thought about going down a different route. So yeah, please don't be put off by that. But yes, it also shows that some of our most popular stuff does close early, so I'd recommend getting in there as soon as possible. When you open an application or do an expression of interest, your recruitment contact will be reach out within 48 hours to speak to you, and to really kind of like get to know you, any help that you need along the way. So yeah, we do reach out as soon as possible. And thank you. I think I just did it in the nick of time. So thank you so much for joining me today and listening to our programme. My information is on the screen. Also, there's a QR code there. I think it takes you to the expression of interest form. If you want to just drop me an email as well, my email is there. But yeah, thank you so much for joining today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Gina, for that really fast-paced explanation of Teach First.
Sorry, I know I'd probably spoken really quickly.
No, there's so much to cover, and it's really interesting to hear the many lives that have been touched by the organisation and sort of bringing first-class education. And if you feel that's something for you, then Gina will be staying on to answer questions in the background. So if you've got any questions, keep them coming in, and they'll be allocated to Gina to answer. But as I said, it's a fast-paced programme, and we're moving on to our next speaker now. So it's my pleasure to introduce Atlanta Giddings Wilson, who's the Partnership and Community Engagement Coordinator at Suez Recycling and Recovery UK. And it's really brilliant to have Atlanta with us today to talk about an organisation that probably most people have come across, might not know about. And you also might, when you're hearing about, think, oh, actually, is this kind of area for me? And it's great to actually know that there's loads of opportunities in organisations like that. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Atlanta to talk you through everything that Suez has to offer.
thank you everyone for having me. I'm just going to share my screen and get my presentation up for you all, so we can get started. There we go. So yes, my name is Atlanta and I am the Partnership and Community Engagement Coordinator here at Suez. So I am working in Mid-Kent, but we are a UK-wide company and also operating globally as part of the Suez group as well. We're either one of those companies that you recognise or you've never ever heard of. It tends to be the way that it goes. But we are a global leader in water, waste and resource management. So we help communities and businesses, government, local authorities make the best possible use of our planet's natural resources and the materials that we have available. We focus on turning those waste resources into more valuable resources, so treating and recycling water, supporting the transition to a more sustainable and circular economy while we do that. So here in the UK, we've been operating since 1988, providing those essential services that help keep our societies running. So things like waste collection, recycling collection, which is where some of you may recognise us from. In certain areas, we will be the ones responsible for collecting your household waste and recycling. But also things like energy recovery from waste and also resource management. So as I spoke about there, sort of water management and things like that. As I mentioned, we are part of the global Suez group. So we combine our international expertise, which is headquartered in Paris, with local delivery in each country that we operate. So we're helping the UK government and local communities move away from what we call a take, make and dispose approach, which is fairly self-explanatory, but where we are kind of a bit of a throwaway culture. And we're trying to help everybody move away from that and towards a more circular economy model where as much material as possible is reused, recovered and given a new life rather than being wasted. In terms of our UK presence, today we employ just over 6,000 employees up and down the country, working with local authorities, so whether that's borough councils, district council, that kind of thing, but also commercial businesses and industrial clients, to deliver sort of innovative and environmentally responsible solutions to the problems that they're having. So we know that everybody generates waste on a sort of a multitude of scales, whether that's just you at home or some of these larger commercial businesses. And our job is to help everybody find those more sustainable solutions to that waste problem, if you will. And we're in 400 plus locations. So chances are, wherever you are in the UK, we are not far from you. We'll have an office or a depot of some kind. A little bit more about what we do. So we operate a network of facilities up and down the UK that carry out a real diverse range of activities. So we're not just collecting household waste or turning that into energy. We really diversify our means, because sustainability is no mean feat and neither is the circular economy. And so we're doing our bit to make sure we can reach that in the best way possible. So for just to name a few, we've got things like materials recycling, energy from waste, wood processing, alternative fuels manufacture, composting through an anaerobic digestion process, and gasification of waste, just to name a few that you can see on that map there. So our work is really addressing some of the biggest challenges that society is being faced with today, things like resource scarcity, climate change and environmental protection. And that's what we are here to work alongside everybody to address. So in short, Suez is a world-leading environmental services company, and in the UK we are really helping to build that cleaner, greener and more resourceful future for everybody. And that leads me on nicely to kind of what we underpin all of our work with, which is our vision. So our vision is quite simple but powerful here at Suez, and it is to live in a world where there is no more waste. Now, that might sound a bit strange because, as I've just said, we're always going to have waste. That's always going to be part of the problem, if you will. But everything we do is guided by this idea that we want to reduce the amount of waste. It's all about changing the way that society thinks about the materials that we have, seeing waste not just as something that gets thrown away, but instead as something that has value. So it can be reused, it can be repurposed, it can be given a whole new life. This vision really underpins all of our actions and drives that transition towards a truly circular economy. And that leads me on nicely to our purpose, which is how we turn this vision into a reality. So building a sustainable future that doesn't cost the earth. It might sound like quite a bold phrase, but for us, it's not just a slogan or a tagline, but it's a real principle for everything that we do. So we recognise that sustainability isn't optional, whether it's for environment, for society, or for the economy. We say that this is the only business case, is that everything must be more sustainable. So to live up to that, we have a 3-pillar approach to our business, which is what we call our triple bottom line, which is planet, people and profit. So again, what we are doing is maintaining a healthy environment to look after our planet, creating social value that includes our people, and running a commercially sustainable business that's going to generate profit, not just for us, but for those businesses and local authorities that we're working with to create these sustainable solutions. We've worked really closely with employees, communities, local authority and government to shape that strategy. So it's not imposed from the top down, but it's more, we've built it together so that it is we have shared buy-in to what we're doing. And so why does this matter to you as soon-to-be graduates? Well, because if you join Suez, you're not just taking on a job. You are working in a business that has a real clear purpose. We are converting waste into resources, driving circularity, supporting local communities, and reducing the impact that overall we have on our planet. And so that means your day-to-day work is really going to matter, not just in commercial terms, but in terms of the environment and society as well. So after hearing a little bit about who we are and what drives us, you're probably wondering why you should consider us as an employer. So the short answer is because at Suez, you will really build a meaningful career that has real purpose, variety and impact. So when you join Suez, as I've said, you're not just taking on a job, but you're really getting involved with and helping to tackle some of the biggest global challenges that we're facing. So climate change, resource scarcity and sustainability being sort of 3 of the bigger ones. So every project that you work on, every decision you make, every email that you send will contribute to protecting our planet's resources. Variety is another one. So Suez is a really diverse business. It's not just working on a dust cart and loading bins from houses. It's not just picking up commercial waste. We operate across a multitude of sectors like engineering, law, operations, environment management, energy recovery, commercial functions, social value, community outreach, and so many more that I could sit here and list for a much longer time than I've got. So as a graduate, what that means for you is that you're getting exposure to a real broad range of experiences and almost different sectors within one business. And what that allows you to do is discover where your strengths lie, but also where your interests are. Not every element of the waste industry is for everyone, and it's a little bit of exploring for you to do to find out what really makes you tick. And what you are really passionate about, because we want everybody that works for Suez to be passionate about the work that they're doing, the impact and the purpose that they're working towards. Another one to mention is development opportunities. So our graduate programs, which I'll talk more about in a second, are really designed and built to help you grow as much as possible while you're with us. So they have structured learning opportunities, mentoring schemes and support from some really experienced professionals who really want to see you succeed and again are really passionate about the work that we're doing. Everybody at Suez lives and breathes our purpose, and so you will have the chance to work alongside those people and learn from essentially the best in the business. You'll gain hands-on experience with that, so we like you to jump right in and take on responsibility early on. So you won't just be job shadowing for months, you will get stuck in straight away, and you'll then have those opportunities to progress across the business. So if there is a particular area that you enjoy or that you're interested in, you'll be given that opportunity to explore it and to work with those teams or with that area of the business, so that you can figure out if it is actually something you kind of want to pursue and become part of. And then the culture. Of course, I've got to mention the culture, but at Suez we have a really strong and healthy company culture. We are really proud of being a very open and collaborative and supportive workplace. So you'll work alongside those people who are really passionate and really care deeply about the work that they're doing every day. It's not just a 9 to 5 for some people. They, genuinely, believe it or not, can be excited to come to work. And that's what we want you to find. We want you to discover what your passions are and what you're going to enjoy while you're with us, so that you can take that forward in your career, whether or not that remains with us or whether that's with another organisation. And last but by no means least, the impact. So join Suez is so much bigger than just a job for so many of us, but it means that you're part of something bigger. You'd be part of a global network of more than 35,000 people, all working towards building that sustainable future and driving that circular economy model. So you'll get to see the impact of your work in your everyday life, whether that's in the communities that you live in, the resources that we're recovering, or the innovations that we're creating, because waste is a very historic industry, so we say. So the innovations are happening really quite rapidly and in a really quite exciting time. So if you're looking for a next step, a graduate career that is going to combine your professional growth with purpose and a passion for sustainability, where you're genuinely going to make a difference to help make the world a cleaner, greener place, then Suez is a really fantastic place for you to start. So now I'll talk to you a little bit more about our graduate programme, which I'm sure is the main thing that you all want to know about. But our graduate programme runs twice a year up and down the UK, and it is designed to give you a structured and supportive introduction to the business. So you have the chance to rotate around different departments, including our energy from waste sector, our production arm of the business, and also our commercial operations. And that will gain you some hands-on experience, and again, as I've mentioned, allow you to discover where your skills best fit in, but also what you're most passionate about. So throughout that scheme, you'll receive tailored mentoring, training and support from experienced professionals, which will help you grow both personally and professionally. Many of our graduates then go on to more senior roles within Suez, so it's a real springboard for your career. So one of my colleagues joined the graduate programme a couple of years ago, and he explored the different areas of the business throughout his programme and found his area where he was most passionate, and he is now an assistant contract manager for one of our 3 councils that run on a 20 million contract. So a sort of real life example for you there of actually, we really want to nurture the talent that we bring in. If you prefer, if a graduate scheme or a more structured graduate scheme maybe isn't for you, then there are some more direct graduate roles available, allowing you to join a specific team right from the start. So beyond that graduate scheme, we also offer apprenticeships and work experience placements as well, which highlight our commitment to supporting young people up and down the country at all stages of their career. So in short, whether or not you want to join the more structured graduate programme or maybe a direct graduate role, you're going to gain valuable experience, real responsibility and the chance to make a real impact on your local environment and society when you join us. What do we look for? Well, there's a number of things, as I'm sure this will overlap quite a lot with some of the other speakers that you've heard from, I'm sure. But the application process is fairly straightforward. We like to keep it as accessible as we can. So you will start off by having a look at our website, keeping a look on a couple of platforms that I'll share with you about where our graduate schemes go live, to have a look for current opportunities. For this, when you found a role, you then submit your application online, which includes your CV, a personal statement or covering letter, and your academic details. From there, selected candidates will go through assessments and some interviews, which may include online tests, video interviews, or an assessment centre. And then those who are successful from that stage will be offered a place on the graduate programme or in their chosen role if you've opted for the less structured route. Then we are looking for the sort of candidates that stand out for us are those with a strong academic background, but academic isn't everything. We value the skills that you bring to the table as well. As I hope you are aware, we really value a passion for sustainability, for circular economy, for environmental issues. So whether that's for recycling, resource management, or just the circular economy, if you have a passion for these topics, then that's what we want to see from you. We also really value teamwork and communication skills because collaboration is really at the heart of what we do, whether it's communicating with a local council or just with colleagues in different areas of the business. We want to see your teamwork and communication skills in action, problem solving skills as well, and initiative, adaptability and drive also really stand out for us. We want to know that you're eager to learn and grow with us and make a real impact. In terms of how to apply, we have our website, which is where our vacancies are regularly posted. Our graduate schemes are usually go online around March and April of each year, so I recommend planning ahead and keeping an eye out, because unfortunately the nature of graduate schemes is that they are competitive, and so we want you to get in there early and make the most of the opportunity. You can also find out about current roles on our website that I've linked here, and we're also on LinkedIn, Indeed and Milkround, which are platforms. Milkround is a more tailored platform for graduate schemes, so worth keeping an eye out, not necessarily just for us as well. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with LinkedIn and Indeed as well. So as I said, once you spot a role that fits your interests and skills, you can submit your applications online, including your CV, your personal statement and academic detail. The key is just keep an eye on them early, get ahead of the game, and get your application in as quick as you can, demonstrating that enthusiasm from the get-go. A couple of tips just really quickly from me. Have a look at industry websites or job skills, things like LinkedIn, to see what kind of jobs exist if you're not quite sure where it is you want to take your career. And also reach out to professionals. Have a look on LinkedIn. If somebody's job interests you, then don't be afraid to reach out and drop them a message and ask them about it, because it's a really good way for you to learn about, as I say, the types of things that exist out there. Have a look into companies that you admire. So if you particularly like their ethos or what they stand for, then have a look into the kinds of job roles they have on offer as well. And take up opportunities if you can. Things like work experience, internships, even open days that local companies run are really good to get involved with. And again, just show that you're really keen and really passionate. And probably the most difficult one, have a look at what your strengths are, try and develop them. Just find out what they are. If you know what they are, you can work towards them. Again, helping your application stand out and demonstrating that passion and enthusiasm from the get-go. That's everything from me, a whistle-stop tour of the business. I've linked all of our socials and things there, and then I've also put my contact details. So I'm on LinkedIn, and that's my email address there as well. So if anybody wants to reach out after today and pick my brains about my job or anything else that the business does, then do please get in touch and I'll be more than happy to help. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, thank you, Atlanta. That's really interesting to hear all about Suez, and thank you for taking us through that and keeping to time. As all the other presenters, Atlanta will stay on for a few minutes to look and answer your questions on text, so keep them coming in if you need to. We're moving swiftly on with a packed programme, so let me introduce to you Dan Hawes, who's the co-founder of the Graduate Recruitment Bureau, and he's going to talk to you specifically about how mentoring can help you get work ready. And this should be a really interesting and informative discussion, because mentoring can really help you understand what the graduate labour market's about and learn from people that have been in your position about how to unlock your potential and get ahead in making your application. So Dan, I can see your presentation. Hopefully you'll appear yourself in a moment.
Yes,
it's over to you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Barry, and also to Atlanta there for a fantastic presentation on Suez. And you touched on mentoring on one of your later slides, which gives me a nice segue into talking about mentoring in a little bit more detail for the next 20 minutes. Thank you also to the organisers for inviting me along again to give this presentation, and I hope to give you as much value as possible and hopefully help you unlock the power of mentoring. Okay, my name is Dan Hawes, here I am on the left, and Graduate Mentor is a social enterprise. This was created in August 2020, so 5 years ago, to help university graduates prepare themselves for the workplace and improve their employment prospects. So myself and my colleague Chris Cater launched this directly to help those individuals who were really struggling back in 2020 when we had lockdown. Lots of graduates were unfortunately unable to get work experience in real life. Their CVs were lacking and their confidence took a huge hit. Since then, we've found the demand has actually increased as the jobs market has got more and more competitive. So, Graduate Mentor set up by Graduate Recruitment Bureau, which some of you may have heard. We have just finished a university career fair tour across the country. We may have actually met you face to face, so welcome. So to help these students and graduates become work ready, we've designed a work ready programme. This consists of e-mentoring, all our sessions are online, and also e-learning, which supplements the mentoring to help facilitate upskilling and work readiness for job-seeking university graduates who face challenges. A successful outcome is reached when our employer partners are then able to reach this talent pool with offers of employment, enabling graduates to launch their careers and reach their true potential. We're not for profit, we're funded by other employers who are very interested in our mission, and also we access funding from external sources. So I really want to explain to you how mentoring can unlock your job-seeking ability, help you get upskilled, and ultimately help you find work. Now, just very quickly, we also have the fantastic support of an advisory board who help steer and upscale Graduate Mentor as we grow and grow. Now, we have Zia Resvi, who's a finance compliance consultant. He's worked at HSBC, Barclays, and a few other financial institutions. Tom Pickering, a director at INEOS. Julie Powell, who's the head of careers and placements at the University of Roehampton. Chris Fagan, an investment banking analyst. Charlie Holmes, an engineer, and Vince Pizzoni, a professor at the University of Nottingham. So a fantastic advisory board to help us grow and make a real big difference in this space. So the situation, it's pretty tough at the moment, as you can imagine. Young adults today undoubtedly face a tough job market. This is because we've had the unwinding of extremely tight post-pandemic labour markets, competition from last year's graduates, rising input costs from inflation, tax changes, for instance, national insurance contributions, which went up, and it does increase the cost for employers who are looking to hire individuals. And the next budget we've got coming up in a few weeks, we're waiting to see if any other changes will be made. But that has really affected the employment market, unfortunately, as has tariffs imposed by Trump government in America. And all these have meant that the job market is becoming increasingly competitive, and it's unfortunate timing for graduates who've just entered the job market. But it's not just that. We've noticed other reports that are confirming this information. AGCAS, who's organised this webinar, has showed that their members, so other university career services, have had a dip of around 7% in graduate level jobs. It doesn't sound that much, but it's a dip nonetheless. The Institute of Student Employers have also noticed graduate vacancies are down by 8%. And also the BBC have reported that 50% of UK employers are claiming that graduates are unprepared for entering the workforce. 50%. So there's a real issue here, and we're hopefully going to address this through our Work Ready programme. So what is it? Well, there's a reason we've designed this programme, and it's specifically to address these particular issues that graduates that we've spoken to have told us about. So I just want to give you some context as to why students and graduates are using Graduate Mentor, and some of these may be your situation. So first of all, there's been a huge skills gap. Only 17% of humanities graduates feel well prepared for work, only 17%. So this is a non-vocational degree, which typically emphasises theoretical knowledge over practical application, meaning many graduates lack specific technical skills, software proficiency or hands-on experience. So by the nature of the degree you studied, some employers may feel that you don't have the necessary skills that they need to employ you. So unfortunately, for some graduates, particularly those that have done non-vocational degrees, they don't feel that they're ready to enter the workplace. Now, I talked about in lockdown when students didn't have the opportunity to get in real life work experience. It was very, very tough. There were online alternatives and virtual internships and things like that, which were great. But during the pandemic, it was extremely difficult to get this real world experience through work experience and placements. Unfortunately, that means that graduates left university without this experience on their CV, which is so critical. And unfortunately, that was a huge problem for those graduates who graduated post-pandemic. Some graduates who don't get a 2-1 may face challenges because some employers stipulate that they're looking for graduates with a 2-1 or above, or even they prioritise certain universities from the Russell Group. So some graduates are on the back foot because they haven't got a 2-1 or they've gone to a non-Russell Group university. Some employers are changing and they're not so interested in the university or the degree grade, but unfortunately there are some employers who, through the sheer number of applications they get, or have a strong success rate in recruiting certain types of graduates, will impose restrictions. Unfortunately, that makes it particularly hard when doors are shut for certain groups of graduates. Mental health has been a huge issue for a lot of graduates. Making the transition from a structured academic environment to a more ambiguous professional setting can be very intimidating for those who are neurodiverse or face other mental health challenges. And definitely the pandemic and the lockdown accelerated those issues, and we have helped a number of individuals from neurodiverse backgrounds or who have mental health challenges, which inhibits them from making those first steps, which is really important. Career uncertainty. So many graduates are unsure about the career path they want to follow, which is, it's still quite a big ask for a 21-year-old to know what they want to do. They may not fully understand the wide range of opportunities available with their degree. So this uncertainty can make that first step very challenging for a lot of graduates if they're not entirely clear about what careers are open to them from their particular degree discipline. The lack of soft skills. So we're talking about communication, problem solving, teamwork, leadership, emotional intelligence, resilience, adaptability, and networking. These aren't taught explicitly at university. You know, by and large, you acquire those skills through extracurricular activity, maybe activities you've done with student societies, charity work, volunteering, or any work experience. That kind of thing is usually where you soak up those particular skills. But for some individuals, that's something they haven't had the opportunity to do, or they haven't got the kind of skills that employers are really looking for. Visa and work permit barriers. So language proficiency and cultural adjustments can make entering the workplace even more challenging for international graduates. So they face unique challenges through that situation. Also, there can be discrimination, bias, stereotyping, facing certain cohorts, particularly BAME, female, disabled, or LGBTQ+ graduates, which unfairly sets them back to applying for organisations if there is this unconscious bias within certain organisations. Usually organisations like law, technology, engineering or finance, sometimes they have some work to do, and a lot of them are making positive changes in this direction. But fortunately, this is an element that can hold back some graduates. And then finally, the socio-economic background of graduates. Those that are from deprived backgrounds, they graduate, they go back home, they may face fewer opportunities or don't have access to professional networks through their family and friends, just through the nature of where they live. You know, being socially mobile, it can be expensive. People can't really relocate. They can't commute long distance due to the cost reasons. So that is a factor. So I've just given you some context there about why graduates are coming to Graduate Mentor and some of the reasons why we can unlock these barriers to help them enter the workplace. So, okay, the Work Ready programme. This consists of e-mentoring. So we have 300 mentors. Okay, so they're from a variety of different industries. They've all been screened. They've got the appropriate experience, and they are available at least for 1 hour a month. So they're all on the platform at the moment, and they're all providing advice on CVs, interview preparation, brainstorming, and much, much more. So they're available on the platform every single day, and all these sessions are done online. So there's no expense or time incurred traveling to meet our mentors face to face. So that's by design, so we can access as many students and graduates across the country. We also have skills workshops every quarter. We have some of our mentors who run quarterly webinars on certain skills and areas to help graduates navigate the job market. And I also mentioned e-learning. So we have a number of partners who provide either free online courses to help you upskill, or there are various paid for services from some of our partners. So we have 6 partners here, all have kindly offered to help graduates as part of our Work Ready programme. So again, this supplements the mentoring as part of our Work Ready programme. And finally, once you've gone through that programme, our partnership obviously with Graduate Recruitment Bureau enables you to connect with our clients. So we have a comprehensive directory of graduate jobs up and down the UK, and so we're not just a mentoring programme. Once you've gone through that, we can then introduce you to employers. Okay, some of our mentors are from a variety of organisations, some as well known as Facebook, KPMG, EY, Google, Coca-Cola, British Army, and the University of Nottingham. But we also have a number of mentors who are entrepreneurs, small business owners. So a really nice blend of representatives from different organisations all over the UK. And I talked about typically the kind of sessions that take place covering CV advice, interview or assessment centre preparation. I would say they're the most popular subjects that are covered in these hourly online sessions. Our mentees, so we have about 7,000 university students and graduates who've gone through the Work Ready programme, and they're from a variety of different universities. I've explained here. The Career Services kindly signpost this service to their students, and they're also from a number of different disciplines. So there is something there for every single university student or graduate. So how does it work? Very simple. On the platform, you create an account, giving us your name, contact details, what you're studying, that kind of thing. And then we also send you a welcome email and onboarding video tour, just to familiarize yourself with everything that you have access to on the platform. When you're ready, you can then select a mentor on the platform, and you can choose one based on 3 different search criteria. So you might be interested in going into finance, so you can choose a selection of mentors who are in finance. You may be interested in getting your CV reviewed. You can search on mentors that are available and specialise in CV advice. Or you could find someone who went to your university, which is a recent addition to our search criteria and is very popular, being able to connect with an alumni from your university helps create rapport, and is a very popular search function on the platform. So once you've identified a shortlist through your search criteria, you can then have a look at their background, and it will tell you their career history and the services they're offering. You then send them a note requesting a meeting. So you can say, I'm looking to get my CV reviewed as I have an interview. I'm applying for a job in finance, for instance. That will then go through the mentor, and then they can reply to you. You set up a time and a date, and the session takes place online for 1 hour. Now, you can have successive sessions with the same mentor if you wish, or you could access another mentor. There's no cap on the activity you have with various mentors on the platform. We've had some fantastic success stories from some of the mentees who've gone through the programme. There's an individual here who found an audit job with Deloitte. Another mentee was struggling for 6 months, connected with a mentor who found employment, and another graduate who found that it had a huge impact on her life moving forward. We'd love to help you, and if you have any questions about how the platform works, I'm available to answer those, and I will sign off.
Thank you, Dan. That's really interesting, and I think to just reiterate your point, yes, there is some toughness about the graduate labour market at the moment, but I think there's always a sense that things recover. The key thing is to understand it, to position yourself well, and it's really great your description of this programme and how mentoring can help the graduates on this webinar to really understand that there are people out there to help them. We often find ourselves kind of thinking around divisiveness and people sort of pushing against each other, but actually we are a big community of people that want to help and build each other's prospects. So it's really good to hear more about that. Again, to say that Dan is sticking around for a little bit to answer questions that are posted onto him. You know, if you want to know about mentoring and how it works, and you know, don't be shy, pop a question through. He'll probably explain a bit more about mentoring and about the program that they run. But a big thank you to you, Dan. So next up, we've got Andrew Bargley from PwC, who's here to talk to us a lot more about the PwC selection and assessment, and gives you some real good tips for success. So if PwC is something that you're interested in and you want to know more about what they do and how they select, then Andrew's going to take you through that. So over to you, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Barry. Hopefully you can see and hear me and see my slides too. Thanks very much for inviting me along today as well. I think just a quick introduction first of all. So my name is Andrew Bargley. I work for PwC. I work in the early careers team. I've been working in early careers and at PwC for a long time, so over 20 years. The early careers sector is definitely something that I'm extremely passionate about and really enjoy. It's really interesting listening to Dan's session. Without doubt, it's challenging. Times are challenging for students, for graduates and undergraduates at the moment. The market is difficult, and I think it's, you know, as Dan's done, I think it's important just to really relay that to students, to universities, just to, you know, to ensure expectations are managed. I think there are opportunities. You know, PwC, we are a big recruiter of graduates and undergraduates, and my session today, I think hopefully will be really valuable, because I'm going to talk about selection process. Yes, it's going to be based on the model that PwC used, but at the same time, I'm hoping that what I tell you today will be useful across a range of sectors and industries. So I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes, and I will be available to answer any questions as well post my session. Just going to very briefly talk a bit about who PwC are, but I'm going to run through different stages of the assessment process that we use, and I'm going to hopefully share some really useful hints and tips throughout that point. The other piece I will add, and again, just picking up on something that Dan said, which, you know, some great messaging there, you know, across a number of sectors. He talked about there are some employers who look at using a 2-1 in terms of their criteria as part of the academic benchmarks that are required. He also talked about some employers who will focus on just targeting certain universities, which I know, having worked in the sector and the industry, does happen. I'm pleased to share that PwC, around about 4 years ago, we removed the need to have a 2-1. You still need to be on course to pass your degree, and to pass your degree to qualify for an undergraduate or graduate role. And we also recruit from any and every university, and I think certainly in the last few years we've recruited from over 100 UK universities as part of our graduate program consistently. So I think that really shows that from our perspective, it doesn't matter where you've studied. So very quickly, for those of you who don't know about PwC, so PwC, also known as PricewaterhouseCoopers, so we are part of a big global network. So PwC has firms in different countries across the world. I personally work for PwC in the UK, and we specifically recruit for the UK. So if you're interested in an opportunity outside of the UK, I'm definitely not the person to help you with that. But we recruit across 19 offices. I'm based in the PwC Manchester office, but we recruit across a number of different offices. So as northern as Aberdeen, and I think our most southern point office is Southampton, and lots in between. So there is a lot of choice. There's a lot of opportunity. And the one thing a drum that I've been banging for many, many years has been London isn't the only place where you can kickstart your graduate career and have a successful start. I think, you know, I really would encourage students to be open-minded around where they're going to be based. I know London is absolutely a very popular destination, and I think there does continue to be a view that the only place where I can find a really good graduate job is in London, certainly from PwC's perspective, and I know lots of other organisations who recruit graduates, that's not always the case. What do we do as an organisation? Historically, we've been known as an accountancy firm, which is very much what we are. We call ourselves a professional services firm. Sometimes when I mention that term, people look at me and think, well, what exactly does that mean? It sounds a bit vague or ambiguous. We offer a range of different services. One example is accountancy to clients to ultimately improve the way they do business. So we offer kind of consulting services, technology services. We also offer legal services as well. So a whole range of different services to ultimately improve how a company performs is probably the simplest way I would describe it. When I first joined PwC, I'd say I was surrounded by mainly accountants, but now many years down the line, you know, PwC has adapted and has been agile and has recognized that as an organization that needs to thrive, we need to offer a range of different services to companies. So I'm sat next to solicitors, I'm sat next to people who specialize in areas like cybersecurity and data analytics and things like that. So we offer lots of different opportunities in the world of business to students. Here's the selection process that we use. So here's our end-to-end selection process, and I am going to talk to you a little bit more about each of the different stages. So we don't ask for a CV or a covering letter. It's a PwC online application form, which is very straightforward. Next stage, you'd be asked to do some online assessments, then a video interview, then an assessment centre, and the final stage, if you're applying for a graduate role, is a senior interview, which this year we're calling a business assessment. But I will go through each of these stages. So our online application form, and just to really reinforce this point, we don't ask for a CV. You don't need to submit a CV. You don't need to submit a covering letter. Is it still important for you to have a CV? Absolutely. I'd strongly encourage you to do that, because there'll be some employers where you will be asked to share your CV. Our application form, we aim to keep very straightforward, very simple. You have your personal details, educational history, any extenuating circumstances that you've experienced. Do you require reasonable adjustments? And if you do, I would really, really encourage you to let us know, because we can make the necessary adjustments as part of the selection process. And then finally, an equal opportunity section as well. So a really simple application form. What are some hints and tips that I would offer you about the application form? Say apply as early as possible. I think one of the, again, just on the expectation management piece, one of the pieces that's come about as a result of the market that Dan talked about. So the market is challenging for students at the moment. We opened our roles, our graduate roles, and also our undergraduate roles, but our graduate roles on the 1st of October, and we have received record numbers of applications so far. What has that meant? We recruit typically on a rolling first come first served basis, and that has meant that some of our graduate roles we have already closed because we have seen such a number of applications that we think we're going to fill. Might we need to reopen those depending on the quality of candidates coming through? Yes, we might do. So if you went onto the PwC website and you were looking for an opportunity, say based in Manchester or Birmingham or London or wherever, and that wasn't available, I would strongly suggest that you keep an eye on our website because things may change. But at the moment, we've seen such a large number of applications over the last few weeks that we have closed a number of our roles. We still do have opportunities available on our website, but a number have been closed for now. So it is really important to apply early. Ensure you check the job description for any specific requirements that are needed. Most of the roles that we recruit for, you can apply with any degree background as well. So do you need to have a business or accounting or economics degree? No, you don't. We do recruit into some niche areas that does require a specific degree. So it's really important that you check the requirements of the role before you apply. And we're already underway with our assessment centres for this year. So they started last week. So we're very much, we did lots of events throughout end of September and October. At the end of last month, we started our assessment centres. So once you've submitted your application form, you'll then be, as long as you are eligible for the role that you've applied for, so going back, it's really important for you to check that, you'll be sent a link to complete an online assessment. And there'll be two parts to it. There'll be behavioural part and there'll be a cognitive part as well. Practice is key. These are online assessments. So we run our online assessments through a company called SHL, who are pretty well known in the world of assessments. If you scan the QR code, you can actually undertake some practice assessments as well. And that's something we encourage because the nature of the assessments will be quite different to what you've done, whether you've done A-levels, whether you've done a traditional route, as part of your degree. These types of assessments will be a little bit different. Assuming you're successful with the online assessment stage, you'll then be invited to a video interview. So at this point, we do use a pre-recorded format. So this will allow candidates the flexibility to obviously to take the interview at a time that best suits them. Once you start recording, and we do get some questions, so if I start recording and I slightly mess up an answer, can I stop it and re-record it? The simple answer to that is no, you can't. So it is, again, really, really important you've done some preparation. There is the opportunity for you to undertake a practice sample question, and that will also help you to get used to the technology that we use, which is very, very simple technology. But I would strongly encourage you to undertake the practice opportunity if there is one. So we ask you 4 competency-based questions. So you have up to 2 minutes to prepare for each question when the question appears, and then you have up to 5 minutes to answer. You do not have to fill the full 5 minutes, but I think realistically, if an organisation indicates a time period and you submit your response and it is considerably less than that, so for example with PwC, if you submitted a response that was less than a minute, it's probably not detailed enough. But again, don't think you need to use that full 5 minutes, and just try and ensure that when you're planning your response in that 2-minute period, that you're not going to go over that 5 minutes either. The other thing that we assess is how you communicate. So again, think about, even though you'll be recording, think about your body language, think about how you are on screen. Can you smile during that during the interview? Yeah, of course you can. We'd encourage you to be free from distractions and try and avoid anybody in the background laughing or trying to make you laugh. But I think about your body language as part of that, and think about the way you communicate too, because that's something that we will also assess. I can see some questions coming through, which I promise you I will respond to once I've finished this session. But I'm also conscious I've got 9 more minutes, so it's important that I get through everything. Some other tips to consider for a successful interview. I've talked about speaking clearly, have a clear structure, be specific as well. Try not to waffle. Keep a glass of water handy. I've got my trusty PwC water bottle here. Take a sip of water to help clear your throat. And try and again just take your time as well. That's really, really important. I think a natural reaction to being quite nervous, and I think the majority of people, if they had an interview for a role that they were keen on, would naturally be a little bit nervous. I think typically that can result in that you speak very, very quickly with some individuals as well. So just be mindful of these things when you're preparing for your interview. Hopefully some of you have heard of the STAR technique, and this is a really simple but effective technique to help you structure your responses in the right way. So when we go through the STAR technique, think about the S, T, the A and the R. So when you're responding to a question, think about the situation, so set the scene. Think about the task as the second part, and then the third part, the action. What action did you take? Try and ensure that if you're being asked a question that is obviously specific to you, trying to think if you're talking about a team situation or a group task that you're involved with, try not to focus too much on the we, try and focus on what your specific role was, because the interviewer or the organization that you're interviewing for isn't going to be interested in what the group did. They're going to be interested in what you did as part of that. And then finally, in terms of how do you conclude, what was the result? What was the outcome of that particular task and what you did? If you're successful with the video interview, you'll be invited to an assessment centre. Now, it does say a day here. It's not going to be a full day. The assessment centre will last 5 hours and it will be run virtually. There'll be a welcome at the start. There'll be an icebreaker exercise, which is designed, which isn't assessed. It's just purely to try and make you feel comfortable and for you to get to know the other individuals that you're being assessed alongside. But the 3 key assess stages that you'll be doing, there'll be an interview. Again, this will be virtual interview, but it will be a live 2-way interview. So it might be somebody like myself who's doing the interview. You'll have an individual exercise that you'll do as well. These are all timed exercises. And then you'll also be part of a group discussion as well. So the individual and group exercise will be hypothetical business situations. There might be situations that you would expect to find yourself in PwC during your first year of joining, but made up through hypothetical client situations. There's not necessarily always a right or wrong answer, but it's just ensuring that you can just justify why you come to the conclusions that you have done. So a few tips before any assessment, but particularly before the assessment centre. Do try and take any practice assessments that you can online. It might be that your University Career Service is able to support you with that, because they'll have access to some great resources and materials that can help you best prepare for that. I think reflect on your own experiences as well. I think Dan talked a little bit about work experience, which again is can be really important. If you've had the opportunity to do some work experience, that's great. If you haven't, my view would be don't worry about it. If you've done any part-time work during your time studying at university, and that might be you've worked in a restaurant, you've worked in a bar, you've worked for a retail outlet, whatever it might be, think about the skills you'll have learned, because you will have definitely developed some skills that will be transferable to the employer you're applying for. And I think that's really, really important. Don't kind of underestimate anything that you've done outside of your academic study, and think long and hard about what you've done and the skills you've developed. Some of that might be through a club or society that you've been part of as well. Really important to research the role, research the firm. Are you likely to get questions along the way with any employer to say, why do you want to work in this role? Why have you applied for this role? And why do you want to work for this organization? Highly likely. And I think it's really important that you position yourself in the right way with those responses. Think about the behaviours. So we use a model called the PwC Professional, which is available on our careers website. So it's no trade or top secret that I'm letting you into it now. You can go on and find out what the behaviours are that PwC looks for when we recruit students. So have a look at that, and always keep that in the back of your mind when you're going through the assessment and selection stage. On the day itself, check that you have the right tech for online assessments. Make sure everything's fully charged. Make sure you've got good connectivity. Think about any preparation time that you've got. Make sure you use that effectively. I talked before about taking practice questions if those opportunities exist. Make sure you stay focused on the task at hand. Make sure you try and manage your time as well. I think sometimes, particularly during group exercises, students can get so engrossed with the actual discussion, the topic, trying to demonstrate the right behaviours, and sometimes they forget about the time. And again, if you don't manage your time in the right way, that again could count against you. And definitely look to build rapport with individuals. You know, be authentic, be supportive of others. You're not necessarily competing against other people. It might be that if there's 6 of you on an assessment centre, all 6 of you are going to get offered a job. So think about it in that sense. Okay, the final stage is, as I said, this is a senior interview or a final interview, but we've just called it a business assessment this year. All of our graduate roles, some of our summer internship roles will require a business assessment. So this will be an in-person interview. This will take place at the office you've applied to. We will reimburse travel expenses as well for you. But it's a great opportunity for you to meet somebody in person, for you to see the office that you've applied to and get more of a feel for whether you feel this is the right organisation for you and the right role for you. One of the things I could talk about this, I'm conscious I have only got 3 minutes left, but I could talk about this a lot. And I think certainly over the last 18 months, whether it be through the likes of ADCAS, whether it be through ISE, whether it be through universities directly, we talked quite a bit about AI, and there's some really interesting research around this. My conclusion would be, I think there is a strong view that students think that all employers are using AI a lot as part of their selection and assessment process. The simple answer is they're not, and we've got to be careful not to get automation and AI confused. We have an online assessment which lots of employers will use. If you don't meet the benchmark for the online assessment, you will be rejected. You won't progress through to the next stage. If you do meet the benchmark, you will progress through. That's automation, not AI. I think, why do employers not use AI? I think there's a number of reasons. I think for a bunch of employers, they're still trying to figure out how to best use it in the process. I think we're aware that AI can get things wrong. I think we're also aware that AI can also show bias as well. I think one of the key things that I often think gets forgotten when it comes to students using AI during the process, I think, yes, look very closely at what that employer guidance is, because that will vary from employer to employer. Some employers will be more than happy for students to use it in the process, and they will try and look to incorporate AI in their own selection process. Others will be slightly different. We would definitely encourage you to use AI as part of your research, but during the PwC selection process, we ask you not to use it. I don't think there are too many opportunities, and we do have some controls in place which will prevent you from doing that. One of the key drivers around that is that we know versions of ChatGPT, there are paid versions and there are free versions. Paid versions are definitely far more enhanced. And when we talk about social mobility and leveling the playing field, do we think it's fair if there's a student who can't afford to pay a subscription for a paid version of ChatGPT? Do we think it's right that they might be unfairly disadvantaged versus somebody who's from a more affluent background who can afford that? No, we don't think that's right. Social mobility is something really, really important at PwC. And that's why we say at this moment, now might things change 2, 3, 4 years down the line, possibly, but we ask students not to use AI in the process. And there are very few opportunities for you to be able to do that. So I think my conclusion with that is check, because it's really important that you follow the employer guidance for that. Okay, I think I've just about got there in time. Do follow us on social media. And I will look to answer some questions in the chat. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Andrea. That was really insightful. And I think, as you say, this might lend itself to what you do at PwC, but the tips for the people on the webinar today will really help them with any kind of recruitment. Where most organizations will use some form of video interviewing or in-person interviewing or assessment. So this is really great insights into how to prepare. So with that in mind, if your head is spinning a little bit with all the opportunities and the things that you need to do to get ahead, you really probably want to know is who's out there to support me. So I'd like to welcome Angie Standish, who's the head of careers at the University of Chester, to talk about how universities go on to support their graduates after they've left. And this we'll probably talk a lot about what Chester do, but this will be very similar whatever university you go to. And one of the things I'd like to say before Angie starts speaking is just to reassure you, whether you've used your career service at university or not, it doesn't matter. This could be the first time you've ever spoken to them. They are there to help you. They're very knowledgeable, and they will provide you with the greatest steps that you can take for success. Over to you, Angie.
Thanks, Barry. That's great. And a very good afternoon to everybody that's on the call today. I've just been listening in to Andrew from PwC there and offering some really essential and strong advice out. So hello, I am Angie Sandish, as Barry said, and I am Head of Careers at the University of Chester. So about 10 years ago, I made the move into higher education after spending about 20 years working in many different fields, from hospitality and recruitment to teaching to marketing to business development and relationship management. But no matter the role, I've always been driven by a passion for helping people grow and thrive in what they do. I've worked across 3 different UK universities, and today I'm here to share some of the advice and support that is available to both final year students and also to graduates. And as Barry said, while every university's offer might be slightly different, much of the support is similar. So do always check with what's available through your own university's career service. So if you're in your final year and you haven't yet connected with your career service, I really encourage you to do so. And we know final year can feel really hectic, and taking even a little bit of time, it will be worth it now. A common myth is that you need to know exactly what you want to do before visiting a career service, and you don't. Many of our conversations focus on exploring options and helping you make decisions about your next step. And for those of you who've just graduated, well, wow, congratulations, because earning a degree is a huge achievement. You've worked hard, you've likely had to balance study with part-time work or caring responsibilities, and you've developed some real valuable skills along the way. So please don't underestimate what you've achieved or the value of your degree level education. So whether you've used your career service or not while studying, it's never too late to either connect or again reconnect. And if you're still figuring out your next step, that's absolutely fine. Or even if you have a job that doesn't quite fit what you wanted to do, your university service can still support you. Most universities offer a graduate support either 1 or 2 years post-graduation, while some of the universities like Chester offer a lifetime access. So think of it as a continuation of your student experience. It's support that extends into your early professional years. Every university has an online careers portal. That's 24/7 access to advice, resources and tools like CV builders, jobs boards, interview simulators. And we know it can feel like a really strange transition at the moment. You're no longer a student, you're a recent graduate, you're also an alumni, so it's perfectly normal just to feel a little bit out of sorts, and you're not alone at this stage. Many universities use career development stages to tailor their advice to you. At Chester, for example, we use uncertain, developing, actioning, and sorted, helping students and graduates identify where they are and what support will help you the most. Please try not to compare yourself to others. Everyone's journey looks really different. And if your friends seem to be landing roles before you, that's okay. Focus on your own path. So here's some practical things you can do right now. You can book a one-to-one with a careers advisor or a careers consultant. It's a personal, confidential chat about your goals, your experiences, and your interests. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's what we do for you. Advisors are experts in the graduate job market. They can help with applications and interviews and exploring different career routes. Many universities also offer extended appointments for students with disabilities, long-term health, or who are neurodivergent. So also check your careers portal pages for the extension appointments. You can check your careers portal for lots of events. So you'll find workshops and employer sessions, topics like getting started, job search strategies, LinkedIn and personal branding. These are free for you to attend, and you can even contact your career service to suggest new topics you'd like to hear about. Check with your university also, because they may be running some sessions that are bespoke to graduates. You may also think about running your own business or being self-employed. So if you've got that business idea or that side hustle, most universities have an enterprise or startup support to help you turn your idea into a reality. Sometimes these are part of a career service, or they can be standalone, but your career service can let you know what's on offer and how to find it. And then also use your alumni network. Connect with graduates from your course through either an alumni team or via LinkedIn's school alumni feature. It's really useful. And you know, alumni are really happy often to share their advice or even opportunities in companies they're now working in. Your university may also run alumni panels, particularly in certain sectors, or they'll have case studies for you to read through of what graduates have gone on to do from your course. So reach out and ask what's available to you. Many universities also run exclusive paid graduate internships or placement schemes to help you gain experience and test out different roles. These might range from short insight days up to 12-month grad schemes. So check on your careers portal for details and also eligibility of the schemes. Sometimes there's a little bit of focus on students from underrepresented groups and areas on these. So just make sure you check terms and conditions on those schemes. Some universities also offer graduate internships within their university, which is a great way of gaining experience in a really familiar environment. If you're considering further study or postgraduate research, your career service can also guide you through course options, funding and applications advice, including writing that personal statement. And that can be both at your current university or a different university, because all advice from your career service is impartial and unbiased. So please don't worry about talking about an alternative university course to us. And don't forget the online tools. There may be some AI-powered enhanced CV builders or video interview practice, online test resources, and all of those will be available 24/7, 365 days a year from wherever you are. Also, keep an eye out for your emails from your career service. It may be that your email box is quite overloaded, but do look out for the career service ones because there'll be new things being launched all the time that have been built specifically to support you. As an example, at Chester, we've just launched our Get Hired toolkit, which takes you start to finish through the recruitment processes and helps you sort of navigate your way through what can be at times quite overwhelming and complex. So make sure you use the most of your career service, prepare for your appointments, think about what you want to get out of it, keep an open mind, explore a range of sectors. You might find opportunities you hadn't considered, and bring your experience. Advisors can help you turn part-time jobs, volunteering, university projects into really strong career-ready examples. And ask for feedback. Share job description and draft applications so you can get targeted advice. And also continue to upskill. You might want to take a short course, learn a new skill or an online tool. And many courses are free on YouTube, or others have really good student and graduate discounts. So keep remembering to keep on learning. It's really easy to overlook the career service or misunderstand what it offers. So take some time looking over the careers portal and the university website pages to help you understand what is available to you. We know that new graduates often face challenges, and that's completely normal. Common hurdles that we know about: just deciding which roles or sectors to apply for, facing strong competition in those sectors, feeling a bit underqualified or lacking experience, particularly when the job application is asking you for more than you've got. Managing assessment centres, and I know Andrew has given you some good advice there around PwCs, but that can be really daunting. Online tests and interview nerves can also be something that can trip you up, and we can help with mock interviews with that. Navigating disability disclosure and requesting reasonable adjustments, something that's very, very common but might be new for yourself, and we can help you start that conversation. Also, for any international students on our calls today, we know that understanding visa and right to work routes can be really complicated, and we can signpost you into the areas to get further information around there. So your career teams deal with these every day. We're supporting thousands of graduates across the UK. So the key is to simply start a conversation. One of the biggest barriers we see is that graduates simply don't ask for help. Many think a career service is just for CVs, but it's not. It's so much more. You have access to professional and impartial advice, so make the most of it. Here's a reminder of 10 ways your career service can support you. Expert advice from trained professionals. Help to clarify your goals that go beyond just CV support. Guidance on choosing roles in a competitive field. Building your confidence and your self-esteem. Understanding the value of the degree that you have. Support during your post-graduation, sometimes call it post-uni wobble, on the kind of what next. Exploring non-linear or squiggly career paths. Crafting your personal brand and your LinkedIn profile. Exploring freelancing, portfolio careers and self-employment. Advice on those reasonable adjustment requests during recruitment processes. And many universities offer that ongoing support once you've started your career, even into the, what will I do if I'm running late? What will I do? Where will I hang my coat? All of these questions that can seem really small, but can build and build. Your career service can have a conversation with you around what your first few weeks in a new job may also feel like as well. So if any of that sounds useful to you, jot them down, write an action to connect with your team. But don't just take our word for it. Listen to what other graduates have said about their own experiences. There are thousands of examples of graduate success through support from the career services, university career services. So have a look at these. And imagine if I asked you this time next year, what advice would you give to your class of 2026 that will come after you? You're not on your own. So I hope today's session has been helpful. Please remember, we're here for you. We work for you. You don't need to wait until you've got it all figured out to talk to us. Whether you're exploring options or already in a role, but it doesn't quite feel right, come and chat. No questions too small. The job market is competitive, but don't believe every negative headline that you read. If you're getting rejections, let us review your application or run a mock interview with you. Sometimes small tweaks make all the difference. Our advisors know what employers are looking for and can help you identify the strengths that you might not even realise you have. And please stay connected with us. About 15 months after graduation, you'll be invited to complete a national survey about your next steps, and your feedback really helps us improve our support out to future graduates. And make sure that you've changed over to a personal email address when you lose your university email, that ac.uk one. Make sure that it's updated in your careers portal so we can always reach you, and you'll keep receiving our graduate updates and access to new projects and tools. So remember, your careers team is there for you. Their advice is impartial and it's focused on your success. So finally, just to round up, keep going. You've got this. And I'll hand back now. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. That's really insightful. And I think it's really important that graduates know that their university and that they've invested all that time and they've spent a lot of time trying to get that degree and all the hard work that goes into it. That doesn't just end. That sort of sense of community, being part of an alumni, stays, and you should always feel proud to be part of a university, and your university will always want to help you. And obviously, Angie's talked a little bit about what's out there for you. You have got a couple of minutes left, so I don't know if any questions have come in that you wanted to take live. I can't see your questions. I don't know if
I don't have yet, but I'm happy to stay on for another sort of 20 minutes for questions to come in, and then I can drop those in the chat.
Yeah, so thank you, Angie. And just to say to people again, do keep your questions coming in. Obviously, Angie's spoken a bit about what happens at the University of Chester, and talked a lot about what you can expect as a graduate, but she can also answer probably quite a range of questions about sort of graduate support and how you can be successful in the labour market. But with that in mind, let's move on to our final session then of the day. So the final session is our panel session, and we've got a number of esteemed people joining us to answer some of the questions we've kind of picked up on from conversations with setting up this event, from the things that employers have said, from the presentations today. So some of the key questions we know that you'd like answers to are what we're going to ask. So our panelists that are have already joined, and we're just waiting for Claire, who was there a moment ago. So I'll just introduce them as they come on. So hopefully you can see their names as well. Stephen, welcome back to Stephen, who's joining us from the National Career Service to talk a little bit more about some of the things that he's touched on. We've got Laurie Stewart from the founder of the Mindless Academy, who'll be talking a little bit about things like skills accelerators and answering some questions around that. But again, I'm sure Laurie will explain a little bit about what Mindless is in answering that. We've got Martin Edmondson, who is the CEO of AGCAS, who I work with. And then joining us in a moment, I'm sure, is Dr. Claire Tyler from the Institute of Student Employers. And the Institute of Student Employers, as part of its membership, includes hundreds of organisations that recruit graduates and tell us all about the kind of things that they're doing, the skills that they need. So Claire will be able to talk to us a little bit more about that. But while we're waiting for Claire to join, let's kick off with the first question then, which is for you, Stephen. And it probably goes back to some of the things that you were saying earlier on. So talking about your work supporting graduates at the National Career Service, what are the biggest skills gap that you think stop them landing their dream job, and what can they do to bridge those skill gaps?
Yeah, I think it's been mentioned in other presentations as well as our own. There are skills, and it's usually the transferable skills that quite a few students don't necessarily get across as well as they could do. One bit of research highlighted communication, problem solving, time management and teamwork as the top four that needed to be demonstrated better. And I kind of look at it and think, when you're trying to demonstrate it, if you've not got much by the way of work experience, then the volunteering can be a really good way forward. It's a way of gaining some work experience and showcasing your actual ability to, put into practice what you've been learning. But sometimes it can be a bit of a knowledge gap as well, so that's where courses can be quite useful. And I think obviously you're looking at a bit of both, but it does depend on the student situation. So I know some students very much dedicate their time to study and maybe don't spend as much time doing the work, and others have quite a lot of work to obviously pay for bills and stuff like that. So they do have quite a bit of work experience, but then maybe some of the courses or the knowledge gap needs to be filled a little bit. But I'm not going to steal anybody else's thunder on that one, because I know there's possibly other questions on that.
Thanks, Stephen. If I could just get you to expand a little bit more on that. One of the things we hear a lot from graduates is that kind of catch-22 situation where they're saying, well, during my studies I was working just to survive, and now I've graduated, I'm still doing that kind of work. How do I get that work experience when I need to do the paid job, and maybe I haven't got as much time for volunteering? What kind of tips do you give to people to try and get out and gain that kind of experience to complement their degree and their employment so far?
Yeah, I appreciate it is a bit of a difficult juggling act, but obviously now that the graduate has graduated, obviously they've not got so much time being spent on the actual study side of things. So if they were juggling the paying the bills with the part-time work whilst they're working through, then I'll try and encourage them to stick with the work where you can get the money coming in and tick over, so to speak, but then do a lot of networking. And I think my colleague Katie highlighted the idea of contacting industry bodies, so the people that oversee the actual industry. So for us as careers advisors, it's Career Development Institute, for example. So I'd go on their website and think, right, where are there networking events, or are there any specialist careers events coming up? Is there a training that I could tap into and things like that? But that's just for our particular industry, but there would be industry bodies across the board. So it's tapping into those. And I think the networking for me would be the key side of things, because you could be fantastic academically, but if you're not getting the feelers out there, how do people know? So it's making use of things like LinkedIn, speaking with other professionals and saying, hi, I'm here. What would be your hints and tips for me accessing this particular career? And people do like sharing knowledge, so chances are they'll respond. They might tell you about some work experience placement that their company's actually running, and that's your foot in.
Thanks, Stephen. And just move on to a question for Laurie now. And Laurie, you weren't with us much earlier when Stephen and Katie kicked off proceedings. But one of the things they talked about was, sort of gaps between what's required on the job description and the person specification and what graduates have, and sometimes the reluctance to do that. And we find that graduates suddenly go, oh, I'd really like to do that, but there's just one bit that I'm missing. And sometimes we refer to the notion of short skills accelerators, kind of building those skills quickly after graduation. So the question for you is, well, first and foremost, maybe explain to some of the people on the webinar what a short skills accelerator is. What makes one genuinely effective, and how do graduates go about choosing the right one for their goals or career paths?
Will do. Thank you, Barry. So hi everyone, I'm Laurie, founder of Mindless Academy. We're a community-based platform offering AI-powered growth experiences that empower learners with three things: mindset, skills, and experience. So skills being one of the things that we do. Within the higher education space, our programs are delivered as integrated work-based learning opportunities for students of all levels, all backgrounds, and all abilities. So in terms of short skills accelerators, I guess they are what they say on the tins. They're short and they're skills, and they're designed to boost your skills. And they're more and more appealing. I guess what we could look at to see what makes it effective, starting by looking at what makes them not effective. So I think the average completion rate of an online course is like between 4 and 12%. And I was thinking about this, is it because maybe our attention spans are short? That's for sure. Maybe it's because they are too accessible. There's too much choice out there. Maybe we get bored, we want to change our minds, or something better comes along. There's lots of different reasons why they might kind of drop off on a short skill opportunity. But why are they needed is because attention spans are shorter than ever before. Technology is making everything really unpredictable as well. So I guess we kind of need to skill stack along the way, and it really is lifelong learning now. And that goes for everybody, right? Everybody on this call, not just those who are at university or about to graduate. It is a lifelong journey of stacking skills along the way and maybe pivoting, and it's not as linear of a career path. At least it's not as when I graduated 10 or 20 years ago now. So what makes them effective? I think number one is engaging content. So making sure the content is up to date, fun, interactive, and easy to digest. Personalized. So I'm super excited about what AI can do in this space in terms of offering one-to-one personalized learning journeys for each and every learner. So making it really tailored to like learning preferences, learning formats, the different pace that different learners have, whether they're visual or kind of more data preferences. Even the way that the AI assistants in learning platforms talk to learners, that can even have an impact on how effective the program is. So the engaging content, the personalization, having something applied, and that's why those online courses tend to not have that stickability, is because you're learning and you're kind of digesting the content, but you're not putting it into practice. And by putting skills into practice, that's what makes it memorable. That's what connects a skill with a memory and a story and an emotion of something that you've kind of tried and tested and failed, and then you've learned and you finally succeeded. And it's that kind of journey of learning that really sticks and cements itself within you. So I think having application of learning is the third point. Two more. Number 4 is being purposeful. So if you can connect the reason why you're learning, so not just learning for the sake of learning, but connecting it to whether the bigger purpose is just the career path you intend to embark on, or the employer that you really want to work for, the future life that you want to set up for yourself, like that bigger purpose, or even bigger than that, maybe something bigger than yourself, like connecting it to social environmental impact and kind of doing better for people and planet. So I think number 4, having meaning behind the learning. And then lastly is something I'm really passionate about for Mindless Academy to build more and more of, is community. Because I think a lot of this online learning world that we're in is very isolated, and you're on your own. Even in the career space, when you're doing professional development, you'll typically do a course on your own, and that's about it. You're on your own. Whereas if you do it as part of a community, you're all going through the learning journey together. You can share ideas, share challenges, and support each other along the way as well. So just to recap on those 5 points: engaging content, personalization, applied learning, big purpose, and then community to wrap it all up.
Thanks, Laurie. And as you say, there's a lot of choice out there, and it's tricky to find the one that's quite right for you. So there's some really great tips of what graduates could look at for. But segueing backwards into what Stephen said as well, one of the key things about things like LinkedIn and networking is you can have a look on there and see what kind of things people have done who are in the kind of job that you want, and then you can reach out to them and say, did that work for you? Was that the kind of right thing? Because you don't want to start something you don't complete, particularly as some of them carry a cost as well. So really helpful to sort of understand that. So Claire, thanks for joining us. We got slightly ahead of the game because Angie finished a bit early, and I've got a question for you, which I might turn into 2 questions, because I know you got 2, but we might segue one into the other. So obviously, with your finger on the pulse of understanding what some of the big graduate recruiters want, we know that employer expectations are evolving fast. So what skills are employers telling you are most in demand right now? And how do graduates really work hard to demonstrate those and stand out from the crowd?
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Barry. I'm glad I joined you in time. Yeah, the first thing I suppose would be to give a bit of context from some of the work that we do with employers about just emphasizing this point about how important skills really are at the moment, just generally. Like there's loads of trends in our data over time, which show that sort of real reduction in the number of employers that are asking for minimum academic requirements. At the moment, the proportion of employers with no minimum entry requirements has more than doubled over the last decade. So that shows you that employers really are shifting to sort of this skills focus. So your degree is important, but it isn't enough to be getting a job. You really need to focus on the skills element of your portfolio. In fact, the number of employers who want a 2-1 degree now, that's down from like 71% to 47% over the same time horizon. So again, focusing on that really real sort of skills angle. A lot of young people, I think, are concerned that sometimes their degree might not be like subject specific enough. I know that's also a concern. So skills are, especially important for those young people. But what we find is that about 80% of employers don't actually mind what subject you study. So again, focusing on that, on the skills piece rather than the subject piece is quite important. So in terms of what skills do employers want, I think there's a few things, a few ways to think about it, really. And so I've got a few I'll run through with you. The first thing to think about is really look at the types of graduate jobs that are available. So in our survey, the most popular roles for employers to recruit for last year were IT, digital and AI roles. So 46% of employers in our survey last year were recruiting for graduate roles in those areas. So almost half of employers are looking for skills in IT, digital and AI. So again, if you've got skills in that area or you're keen to develop them, that'll really put you sort of ahead of the crowd. Another 45% of employers were hiring for accounting, finance and banking roles, and a third, so 34%, were hiring for engineering roles. So these were the most popular type of roles that were being hired for sort of in the entry-level space in our sample last year. So any skills in those areas, really important. What is also quite interesting about those particular kind of roles is that they're also the hardest to fill. So even though employers really want to recruit these young people, they are struggling the most in those areas to recruit those young people. So if you can have skills in those areas, that will really help you stand out from the crowd. In fact, last year, engineering was the hardest to fill, according to our stats. So that was the same this year as well. So technical skills, still really important. Another way to think about it isn't just looking at the roles, but it's also looking at how employers feel about their recruits once they join their organisations, and thinking about where graduates might not meet the expectations of employers. And obviously, if you have those skills yourself, then you can really stand out from the crowd. So again, some data on that. In our surveys, we find that about half of employers report that graduates didn't meet their expectations in self-awareness. And again, in resilience, that was 46%. So about half of employers are not happy with the levels of those skills in sort of the graduate population. So if there's anything you can do as a young person to build those skills and also demonstrate those skills, that will really, really put you ahead of the crowd as far as our data is concerned. So we can also look at this another way. We can look at the skills that employers are prioritising in their graduate schemes, in the training. So once young people join organisations, employers obviously spend a lot of time, a lot of money developing young people and developing those skills. Well, basically, where are the gaps? So they observe where the gaps are, and then they invest heavily to fill those gaps. Again, based on our data, so the overwhelming majority of employers are focusing on presentation skills in those graduate schemes. Also, personal career management, so your own ability to sort of put yourself forward and manage your own career. Again, resilience, self-awareness and interpersonal skills are coming out quite strongly. So over 90% of our employers cite that they're focusing on those 5 skills that I've just listed in their graduate training program. So again, they're skills that employers are really, really looking for and really, really value. I've got another list for you of some others, just if you want to bring these out in your CVs at any point. Employers also say that graduate skills are lower than expected in time management, adaptability, dealing with conflict, work appropriate written and verbal communication, and managing upwards. So some of them you may have experience of, you may have less experience of, but these are things that employers are looking at and have a view on. So again, if you can develop any of these, that will really, really help you in your CV and in your applications. And then of course, looking to the future, we're bringing AI into the picture, thinking about how that might impact the type of graduate jobs available. The focus then, I would say, should be on developing skills which are harder to automate over the coming years. So here we're thinking about human skills. So again, I've got another list for anyone writing these down, but things like collaboration, interpersonal skills, critical thinking, motivating others, handling emotions, making ethical judgments, leadership, and also even spotting faults in AI itself. So technical knowledge obviously remains essential, but the value lies increasingly in knowing how to use AI tools well. So our advice from the ISE's perspective generally is that the job market is always competitive. Focus on quality over quantity when you're making those job applications. And in terms of skills, really make sure that you're highlighting which skills you have and how they specifically meet the requirements of employers and fill those gaps that they're really, really looking for. So that's me. I hope that was enough, Barry.
Yeah, it's brilliant, Claire. Thank you. And sure, you've answered my second question as well about the future, but we've got a question for the whole panel at the end. So I might ask you to just touch on something specific at that point. I think it's really interesting you mentioned about the technical side of things, because often you get people from subjects who go, well, I didn't do an engineering degree, I didn't do a technical degree. But as you said, sometimes employers are looking to train that graduate to develop on those key skills. And I remember being at Sky a few years ago and them saying one of their best graduates for a technical role came from an English literature degree, simply because they were the person asking all the right questions, inquiring, being innovative. So if you're on this call, don't rule yourself out because you say, oh, I didn't do anything technical. You've probably got a lot of technical skills, and some things just need to be trained. It's the key skills that they're looking for.
Yeah,
and I guess Martin,
I was going to say exactly on that. I had a conversation with some employers yesterday, and they were saying exactly the same thing, that they recruit for learning agility. Are you bright? Can you learn quickly? And then they'll teach you the technical skills. So just to reiterate your point, employers are also saying exactly that to us as well.
Thank you, Claire. And on that, Martin, Claire's just given us a good insight into that sense that some employers are saying graduates don't have the skills. Maybe we're finding that it's not just they don't have them, they're not always able to articulate what they've gained from university. And we've heard a bit from Angie about how career services might support graduates. I wonder if you could give us an insight from your role at AGCAS of what graduates can expect from their career service to really help them with these daunting prospects of, have I got the right skills? What do I do next? How do I build my skills? How do I even articulate my skills? What is out there for them in terms of their university career services?
Great, thanks, Barry. Yeah, and nice to join you all today. And brilliant to hear there from Claire about some of the employer perspectives on some of those angles, particularly about the different degree qualifications that you might need or the subjects you might need to go where you want to go. I speak as an English and music graduate who ended up in the world of recruitment and then now runs a charity. So it's kind of, I think that's kind of typical in a lot of ways of the fact that, you know, people in this country do have non-linear careers. So don't feel that your subject is massively limiting to you. It's actually often opens up a really wide market. So getting onto your question, Barry, about career services and support, you know, there's some great stuff that Angie spoke about earlier where she went into some of the details of what career services can offer. So I can't really say some of that better than she did, but I'll try and pick on a couple of areas. And I partly wanted to just try and lift the doom a little bit. So I've kind of, that comes from some of the commentators that people might have seen, many of you as recent graduates thinking about some of the commentary that's been out there in the press over the last few months, particularly a guy called James Reed, who runs a big recruitment business called Reed, which actually was my first graduate employer, interestingly on their graduate scheme, who's been quite sort of negative about the current state of the graduate labour market. But actually, the data that's coming out from Claire and the ISC and from our members as well in all the universities suggests that yes, there is a little bit of a dip in the graduate labour market, but it's nowhere near as bad as is being presented in some of that media. So the first thing I want to say is just give you a little bit of encouragement that actually the market, whilst it's challenging and it's always been tough to get a graduate job one way or another, it's not quite as bleak as perhaps some of the media would have portrayed. And the other reason it's not so bleak is there is a lot of support out there for you. I'm from AGCAS. We represent around 150 universities in the UK and Ireland, and all of the people who work in careers and employability in that space. And we have about 5,000 members across those universities, all super focused on trying to help you figure out what you want to do and find the next step and make your way through to that next step. And crucially, it's important for you to know that that doesn't stop the day that you step away from the university, grab your degree certificate. Actually, about 85% of our members, so universities in the UK and Ireland, offer 4 years of support, and about 45% offer lifetime support for people in careers. So the support you can get in careers and employability does not end at the point at which you finish your degree. It's still there, and it's still there for a good period of time afterwards in the vast majority of universities. I'd really encourage you to go and take that up. And that could be anything from just a very sort of baseline conversation where you're thinking, I really have no idea what I want to do, and I just need someone to help me think through with that and get some great careers advice on that. Or it could be you've got a kind of opportunity or an opening at an assessment centre, a video interview, a psychometric, whatever that you're trying to navigate, and you want to get some support and advice to take you through that, do a practice one, do a mock assessment, those kinds of things. And those careers teams will all be there and happy to help with any of those things and to help support you with that. Or maybe you've got a route where you want to start some kind of business and go down that road. And again, they'll be able to plug you into things like university incubators, enterprise support, and that kind of thing as well. So I guess if you remember nothing else in terms of the sort of messaging around career support, it's that it doesn't end at the point at which you leave university. It's still there for a good few years afterwards. And actually, university careers teams will be really happy to see you, talk to you, support you, you know, long after you've finished your degree, because they're totally invested in you getting the graduate job you want to get to or the role you want to get to. So I think I'd really encourage you to take that up, make the most of that, and that support is very much there across the whole country. And also potentially even in many cases, if you want to drop into universities that you didn't go to, but if you went in, many of the university careers teams would still be happy to have a conversation with you and help signpost you in the right kind of direction. So it's a really powerful network that will be there to support you.
Thanks, Brian. I could just push on a little extra bit of that just for a quick sort of minute answer. During the course of today, we've heard a lot from recruiters, of sort of big graduate recruiters, the people that sort of take hundreds. But one of the things we know about our sort of our graduates is they tend to either go back to their home region if they travelled away for university, or sometimes they just stick in the region where the university where they went to, and a lot of the jobs are available in that region in smaller organisations. Do you want to say a little bit about what universities do around things like internships and stuff like that to help make that initial sort of step into life as a graduate working?
Yes, certainly, and I think that giving some thought to a job in a small business or an SME is a really important thing to do. Only around sort of 10 to 15% of graduates end up on what you would describe as a graduate scheme. I think sometimes there's a bit of a sense amongst graduates that, you know, that's kind of something everybody does, but actually it's really quite a small proportion. And the vast majority will often end up either in small businesses or in public sector jobs. And they're really great pathways to kickstart your graduate career. But I think, and universities have got a lot of things like short-term internship programs, perhaps 4-week, 6-week, 8-week programs where you'll be paid to go in and work for a period of time in an SME. So again, have a look at your university, see if it's got a program like that, see what kind of things it's offering. And even if that's not the route, even if you just decide to pursue this on your own, I've spent most of my life either being a founder or a director of a small business or a charity or a social enterprise. And actually, we really value students and graduates, those of us running those kind of organizations, who've got to know our small business. If you found out about our small business and you know a bit about it, and you can communicate why you want to work in that organization, that's super powerful, if nothing else, just to open up a conversation and see what opportunities might be there. Because actually, you know, everyone has heard of the big employers before, and everyone knows about those. But actually, if someone's taken the time to figure out your small organization, whatever niche industry it happens to be in, that founder or leader will almost certainly be happy to have a conversation with you and talk a little bit about what's going on through connection through LinkedIn, which I think Stephen mentioned earlier, you know, or whichever route you want to go in through. Because actually, you know, to some extent, you're flattered that someone's noticed your organization and might be interested in wanting to work there, and that goes a long way.
Brilliant, thanks, Martin. Stephen, before I go to the final question, which will be a sort of 30-second across the board answer, you're probably like the same at the National Career Service as at University Career Services. Often you get people coming and going, oh, I haven't got a CV, I've got nothing to put on a CV, I don't know what to write in an application. But we know lots of graduates do part-time work, volunteering, extracurricular, part of societies, they take on positions of responsibility. How can graduates identify these transferable skills that Claire was talking about we were looking from some of those experiences that come out of their studies?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think when I was at university, I always remember, because I went to UEA, we got given a little booklet which said, right, you've studied history and sociology, which is what I did, and these are transferable skills you made use of. So some universities will provide that information so you can start to see the link with how your degree in history and sociology can work elsewhere. But I kind of also think when it comes to the world of work as well, you can find information out on either the Prospects website or the National Careers website as to what skills are generally used in that job role. And then you can think, well, how does this translate to another job role? I mean, I'm going to use a very basic example. There was a gentleman that I was helping out who worked in scaffolding, and he wanted to become a delivery driver. And he said, well, where's the relevance there? And I said, right, okay, as a scaffolder, you head off to your depot and you pick up your scaffolding. Guess what? As a delivery driver, you're going to have to head off to the depot and pick up your parcels. And then you're going to have to load up your scaffolding. You're going to have to load up your parcels. You're going to have to deliver it to your customers. You're going to have to deliver it to your customers, and so on and so forth. So we've started to show the transferable nature of that. I mean, like I said, it is a basic example, but that's the kind of process that you actually want to go through when it comes to looking at what's on the National Careers or Prospects job profile and start linking it in your current job or your previous job roles with the other job roles that you're actually going to be applying for. But I think a key thing always is how to showcase that. And like I said, if you're thinking about, okay, I was a scaffolder before and I was doing X, Y, and Z, and that links in with new job, have I got that X, Y, and Z actually mentioned in my CV, or is it just a quick overview? And I do see some people who just put, right, I was a cleaner at this company on that date, and that's all they put. And you kind of think, well, that's not showcasing what you're capable of bringing to the table. And I mentioned it in the presentation about highlighting achievements. And that's a really important thing because this can really grab an employer. So I'm going to give it as a very quick example. One young lady helped her employer reach 80% improved efficiency. That had a knock-on effect with the customer service, and that had a knock-on effect with the profit. So we put that on her CV as one of her achievements with that particular employer. But what she hadn't put, because I encouraged her not to, is how she came to that outcome or result. So she's just telling the employer the result, and the employer's looking at it thinking, how on earth did she achieve 80% efficiency and improve customer service and that 17% increase in profit? I don't know. So what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to call her up for an interview to find out. And then in the interview, she can go into the how, the dynamics behind it all. So I think it's a very key thing to make sure you're marketing yourself in the right way and making the most of your experience. Now, this young lady worked in a warehouse, and she basically said to her boss, I'm struggling to find the car parts, as is everybody else. It's taken like 10 minutes to find the car parts. And she said, can I just reorganise it and colour coordinate it? Now, the boss was a bit sceptical, but he said, yeah, go ahead. And that was the knock-on result. Instead of spending 10 minutes trying to find the car parts, it was 1 or 2. So you got that 80+% improvement in efficiency. But that's a relatively basic job. But, you know, if you're a graduate and you've been working in warehousing and had that sort of experience, the employer's going to love that. But it's only going to be on your CV if you have a think about, well, what did I achieve? Or you have somebody like myself or a careers advisor in your university helping you pull out what you've achieved over the time and making sure that message gets across on the CV.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stephen, for those insights. So, like, final quick fire question, 30 seconds each, starting with Laurie. A lot of speculation about the real value of a degree these days. What do you think makes a degree valuable now and going forward into the future? We'll start with Laurie.
Okay, 30 seconds, let's go. First of all, beyond the specialist knowledge you've learned in your degree, there's a couple of things that stand out. First of all, in terms of character, your attitude and ability to go all in on something, to go deep on learning, to commit and see it through to the end, and to make that assertive, bold decision in life. But I would say this comes with a caveat that this comes back to my point earlier about lifelong learning, that this is one major step in an entire life's worth of education. So just to put it into context, it's one step and then on to the next one. I hope that's 30 seconds gone.
Thanks, Claire. That's brilliant. And Claire, Skills England are saying there's a need for higher level skills. So how does a degree set you apart in terms of your skill level and future employability in a way that maybe not having a degree doesn't?
Perfect. So yeah, I mean, basically the economy needs graduates. So you know, the future workforce needs you. There's predicted growth in professional jobs. You know, there's like 1.5 million more professionals that are needed over the next decade. The economy absolutely needs you. Our data at the ISE, to echo Martin's point, shows that about 90% of hiring is still continuing as normal. So there is a bit of a dip this year, maybe like 8% fewer graduate jobs. But you know, it's always cyclical, but 90% or so is still going. So the economy needs you, the employers need you. Your degree is absolutely valuable. And it also, alongside your studies, gives you time to do work experience and all these extra things that are valuable in the workplace. Employers have said as much. You know, our data shows that young people with that work experience that they've got through university, they do come out with better skills and perform better in the workplace. Employers are more happy with those young people. So yeah, so absolutely really positive message for us. Keep studying hard. It is absolutely worth it. And fingers crossed for your job search at the end.
Thank you, Claire. Martin, we know from AdCast that employability is massively embedded into university degrees. So what makes a degree valuable for ensuring our graduates are employable?
There's a great phrase about what employability really is, or what it means. It's a word that often gets bandied around, and my favourite definition is this one from a guy called Pete Hawkins that says to be employed is to be at risk and to be employable is to be secure. And what that tells you about it is the fact that employability is not just getting a job. It's this build-up of skills, capabilities, competencies, your ability to relate to other people, and your ability to both get a job and then thrive in that job. And universities are massively invested in you, not just getting a job, but also being successful, having all of the skills we've talked about, being able to both pull them out of your various forms of experience, study, the relationships you've built with people in your time at university, and then to play that forward into university. So I still think there's a deep intrinsic value in higher education. it contributes to society, it produces people who are more civically engaged, who are healthier, but also, as Claire and Laurie said, you know, the evidence is also still great there in terms of like long-term salaries, earnings and demand in the labour market.
Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, Stephen, we've run out of time. I thought you'll forgive me as you did have 2 questions in the first place. So that is it for today. I just have to cover a few things. So I think somebody's going to share a couple of slides, but as they do, can I just say a massive thank you to all of the speakers today who've given their insights into what the future holds for you as a graduate. And I think it's a really positive one. And finally, a massive thank you for people that have been organising this, whether they're on the call or not, particularly to Julia and George, who are on the call, who have really done well to get this out. And to my colleagues at ADCAS, particularly Lara, who I know is not on call. I'm sure Martin will get that back to us. Just final couple of points from me just to highlight and reinforce what the 2 organisations that have put this on for you do. So ADCAS, we support universities in providing the best employability services they can for you, and we work in partnerships with prospects. So if you're looking to think, what do I do next? There's literally thousands of job titles you can research, and there's things on the prospect website built in conjunction with ADCAS that really help you make decisions about your future. But if you're unsure, just reach out to your career service. And then a final word, if we can just skip to the final slide, please, just on our colleagues at the National Career Service, and just on the sense that they're there for you. And maybe people don't know about that, because particularly coming into university, you might not have come across careers advice if you came from a school setting, but they're there for you for life, as some of your career services are. And here's some of the things that they do to really help you build your confidence, particularly thinking about what you do next. Most people think for graduates it's just a graduate job, but I think one of the questions that came out earlier was, yes, there are still things like apprenticeships and further training that the National Career Service can really help you understand, and they can really help you with some of that coaching and advice if you're struggling on that transition from university to work, particularly on those things that can help you support you when you're in work to build your confidence and get the adjustments that you need. So do reach out to them either via the National Careers Service website, as you can see there, use the chat function, or give them a call and they'll be able to help you. So a big thank you again to everybody, and for you, the participants that are listening. I hope it's been useful. If you need any help, do reach out, and the very best of luck and congratulations on starting your life as a graduate.